Chapter 317. Wei Meidai's face was filled with disbelief. Since she had found her talent in refining pills, she instantly became infatuated with the profession. In her eyes, other than Lu Qinyue's abnormal heaven-defying talent, there was nobody above her. "Little girl, did you already pass the first-grade pill master exam?" Tong Qingyuan couldn't help but question Bailey Honghang. Such geniuses were always rare, but it wasn't as if there was none. At the very least, their Pill Masters Guild already has one such living example. Lu Qinyue was Azure Water City's rarely seen genius pill master. Bailey Honghang shook her head slightly. "I haven't." Haha. Wei Meidai immediately started to coldly mock her. "Hey, even if you want to talk big, it should at least be within limits. A second-grade pill master, are you dreaming?" Because Tong Qingyuan was still present, Wei Meidai regained her courage. She was sure that Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't dare to face Tong Qingyuan up front. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Wei Meidai coldly. "Just because you don't have the skill doesn't mean that I don't." In the arrogant sentence, Bailey Hongzhuang's tone was flat and natural. The words were obviously provoking, but coming from Bailey Honghang, it only sounded indifferent and ordinary. Tong Qingyuan's eyes changed slightly. Bailey Honghang's way of speaking was worth thinking over. This tone wasn't one used when two equal forces were sneering at each other. Bailey Honghang's manner of speaking signified that she simply didn't care about Wei Meidai at all. It was contempt from the bottom of her heart. Wei Meidai was always arrogant. He never thought that he would one day meet a girl even more haughty than her. "Are you saying my disciple doesn't have any ability?" An angry voice immediately called out after Bailey Honghang's words from behind her. Wei Meidai's eyes brightened. She instantly regained her guts, that trace of worry disappearing as she glared at Bailey Hongzhuang, filled with pride and resentment. "Master!" Wei Meidai loudly called out, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang provokingly. Since her master appeared, why couldn't she act arrogant around this woman? Gu Songyun's mood was originally very good. His treasured disciple was taking the first-grade pill master exam. This time he had watched Wei Meidai train very hard and believed that as long as she showed a good performance, Wei Meidai would definitely pass the pill master exam. But he didn't expect that the first thing he heard when he entered the examination hall was a young lady saying his own disciple had no skill. If his very own disciple didn't have any skill, who in this world did? Gu Songyun's heart was filled with displeasure. Nowadays, young people truly were newborn calves unafraid of the tiger. What identity did she have, daring to say those words? Bailey Honghang turned around to see Wei Meidai's master. It was an old man about 60 with a full, grizzled, gray beard. His face was laced with wrinkles and was red from anger. Arrogance was etched in between his brows, his whole body emitting a distinguishable aura. The old man's arrogance was very different from Xinyuan Huan's inborn arrogance. Rather, his was an arrogance acquired through practice and customs. As long as one was a pill master, their bodies would always emit such a bit of arrogance and disdain. Because pill masters were such an up and high profession, they were always used to cultivators chasing after them. With only a glance, Bailey Hongzhuang instantly knew that Wei Meidai's arrogance was caused by this man before her. Chapter 318. Master Gu Yu came. When Tong Qingyuan saw Gu Songyun come, a polite and respectful smile immediately appeared on his face. Although he and Gu Songyun were both pill masters, Gu Songyun was a third-grade pill master while he was only a second-grade one. Besides, Gu Songyun was older than him and was his senior. Gu Songyun nodded his head slightly before locking his eyes on Bailey Hongzhuang. "What is your name? Daring to talk to my disciple so rudely?" His sullen voice was angry and questioning. Gu Songyun had always protected his name, and how could he let her go when she had even insulted his most prided-upon disciple like that? No matter if it was Feng Bo country or Clear Flame country, very few around Wei Meidai's age could take the pill master's examination like her. Only Huan Chuyo's disciple Lu Qinyue truly had enough talent to beat Wei Meidai. Other people can't even come close. Although this girl's appearance was impressive, daring to look down on his disciple, she had to pay the price. Wei Meidai stood behind Gu Songyun, a prideful smile on her beautiful face. She looked at her master. Let's see if this woman still dared to be as arrogant as before. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly, a trace of coldness fluttering past her inky black eyes. The thing she disliked most was such a high and lofty, arrogant, bossy appearance, as if he and other people were on completely different levels. Since the other person was so rude, she naturally didn't need to be polite either. Respect was something both parties needed. A trifling third-grade pill master didn't have the qualifications to make her reply. Bailey Honghuang glanced at Gu Songyun and Wei Meidai, not replying. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang continue her arrogant act, Wei Meidai was stunned. Did this woman not know her master's identity? Anyone in Azure Water City would treat her master with due respect as soon as they saw him. So how could this woman from who knows where have the impertinence to ignore her master? Hey, my master is asking you something. You dare to ignore him? Wei Meidai raised her voice at Bailey Hongzhuang, her appearance as if Bailey Hongzhuang had done something unbearably ungraceful. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was cold, her inky black eyes estranged and indifferent. You questioning me doesn't mean I have to reply. Her cold, clear voice was sweet and pleasant, but her words made the scene freeze. Tong Qingyuan stared at Bailey Hongzhuang astonished. Although he thought that this was mostly due to Wei Meidai's arrogance, Bailey Hongzhuang's rudeness to Gu Songyun was truly out of his expectations. The crowd watching was also shocked. Wasn't this Bailey Honghuang really too audacious? Usually, nobody would dare to speak against Gu Songyun and Wei Meidai in the Pillmasters Guild. Even in all of Azure Water City, there wasn't anyone who dared to slight them. But now Bailey Hongzhuang actually dared to face Gu Songyun so rudely? It had to be said, her courage alone was admirable. Master Gu is famous for his narrow-mindedness. Bailey Honghuang really dares to offend him? Wei Meidai's usual actions are always spoiled by Master Gu. Bailey Honghuang's actions actually make me a bit happy. AI, but offending Master Gu, Bailey Honghuang definitely won't have a good time in Azure Water City. Everyone sighed, looking at Bailey Honghuang regretfully. Chapter 319. A trace of anger appeared in Gu Songyun's turbid eyes. He had stayed in Azure Water City for many years. Whoever saw him would always call him master. For him to speak to a youth was their honor, yet this girl actually dared to be so disrespectful. Don't you know that it's unwise to offend a pill master? His cold, gloomy voice held a warning. Bailey Honghuang's actions had clearly already angered him. Tong Qingyuan's heart sunk. Master Gu wasn't as tolerant as Master Huan. Even a trivial action would make him hold a long-time grudge. Bailey Honghuang had completely offended Gu Songyun today. Although he didn't know Bailey Honghuang, he also didn't want her to get such a big enemy just because of this. Thinking of this, Tong Qingyuan glanced at Bailey Honghuang meaningfully, indicating she should say a few pacifying words. After all, Gu Songyun was the elder here. It wouldn't be good for him to deal with Bailey Honghuang. Bailey Honghuang saw Tong Qingyuan's indication and couldn't help but get a favorable impression of him in her heart. She and Tong Qingyuan were total strangers, but he still tried to warn her. From this, it could be seen that he wasn't a bad person. But wanting her to speak pacifying words to Gu Songyun? Impossible. Don't you know that it's also an unwise idea to offend a new talented pill master? Bailey Honghuang's lips curved into an enchanting smile, her cold voice filled with menace. She had no need to pay attention to a third-grade pill master. Right now she was already a second-grade pill master. As long as she works hard and breaks through in her cultivation, refining third-grade pills wouldn't be a problem at all. So, Gu Songyun's words weren't the least bit threatening to her. As Bailey Honghuang dropped those words, Gu Songyun and Wei Meidai's faces suddenly changed. They were sure Bailey Honghuang would be begging for forgiveness, but instead, Bailey Hongzhuang actually turned around and threatened Gu Songyun? Haha. Gu Songyun's anger had already reached an exploding point, but to keep his image he could only sneer coldly. Since you're so courageous, announce your name. I want to see what confidence lets you be so rude and unreasonable. Rude and unreasonable? Little Black's face was mocking. I think this guy's the one who's shameless. Right. When people become cheap they become shameless. Since no one wants to deal with shameless people they become invincible. This Gu Songyun and Wei Meidai are birds of a feather. Little White's face was full of disdain. Master, they definitely are planning to get even with you. Little Black and Little White showed displeased looks on their faces, yet Bailey Hongzhuang still looked indifferent. With this kind of substandard guy, she didn't feel he was worth getting angry over. I am Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang was not perturbed, hiding neither given nor surname. She was not at all afraid of Gu Songyun's retaliation. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's name, the expression on Tong Qingyuan's face changed. A few days earlier, Bailey Hongzhuang's name spread throughout the Azure Water City. This was all because the long-lost channel opening pill had showed up in her possession. What the Pill Master Guild paid most attention to was obviously pills, not to mention that it was a long-thought-to-be-lost pill. After hearing this piece of news, they also thought of getting in touch with Bailey Hongzhuang. It was just that the Azure Water School had its own set of rules. No matter which organization you were from, you couldn't go into the school to find a student. Unexpectedly, Bailey Hongzhuang actually came to the Pillmaster Guild. These past days, Gu Sangyun had been studying pills behind closed doors and thus did not know of the matter of the channel-opening pill. And so he also did not know of Bailey Hongzhuang's name. Bailey Hongzhuang, I will remember this name. Chapter 320. Gu Sangyun's voice was icy as he stared at her angrily. There were too many people watching for him to do anything. He can't explode here. But he had plenty of ways to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. Suddenly, a familiar and surprised voice rang in everyone's ear. Bailey Hongzhuang? Bailey Hongzhuang turned to see Azure Water School's vice principal Huan Chuyu slowly walking over, a trace of a smile on his kind and tolerant face. Huan Chuyu's impression of Bailey Hongzhuang was very deep. The young girl had actually mastered the long-gone vibrating needle technique, a truly stunning feat. Vice principal Bailey Hongzhuang greeted him respectfully. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang call Huan Chuyu vice principal, Gu Sangyun could immediately tell Bailey Hongzhuang's identity. Old Huan, she's one of your students? Huan Chuyu nodded his head smilingly. Right, Bailey Hongzhuang is one of Azure Water School's new students this year. No wonder, truly a newborn calf. Gu Sangyun sneered, his voice filled with resentment. Old Gu, your words are completely wrong. Huan Chuyu waved his hand. Bailey Hongzhuang isn't a youth that doesn't understand anything. Seeing Huan Chuyu speak like that, Gu Sangyun thought he was only trying to protect Azure Water School students. Such a young girl daring to talk big, isn't that exactly a newborn calf not fearing the tiger? She doesn't know just how big the world truly is. Huan Chuyu inspected Gu Sangyun and Bailey Hongzhuang. From Gu Sangyun's thorny attitude, it was clear that the two were in a conflict. Old Gu probably doesn't know, but in the field of healing, Bailey Hongzhuang is entirely deserving of being called a great master. Huan Chuyu's face was serious, his voice sincere without the slightest trace of a lie. Everybody was surprised as they listened to Huan Chuyu praise Bailey Hongzhuang. In Azure Water City, Huan Chuyu was a truly great master that everybody respected. It was truly a great honor for Bailey Hongzhuang to be praised so highly by Huan Chuyu. Old Huan, what do you mean? Gu Sangyun's face was still unhappy, a trace of doubt in his eyes. He and Huan Chuyu knew each other for many years, and he understood the other's temperament very well. Since Huan Chuyu said that, it shouldn't be a baseless claim. Wei Meidai looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in annoyance. She really didn't know what background Bailey Hongzhuang had, to get such praises from Master Huan. Truly hateful. Bailey Hongzhuang is a doctor who was able to remove the Lulin python's poison. Huan Chuyu smiled indifferently, a trace of mystery on his calm face. Everybody's faces changed when they heard Huan Chuyu's words. Lulin pythons were a huge taboo amongst cultivators. Nobody wanted to ever encounter a Lulin python because if they were to be poisoned by it, there was very little chance they could survive. But did Master Huan say just now that Bailey Hongzhuang actually removed the Lulin python's poison? What idea was that? Gu Sangyun naturally knew about the difficulty of dispelling the Lulin python's poison. Even he was helpless in front of it. Bailey Hongzhuang, this little girl, could really cure the poison? Old Huan, you're exaggerating, right? Gu Sangyun asked skeptically, his words probing. If other people said it, then he definitely wouldn't believe them. But since Huan Chuyu said it, he had to believe it. Chapter 321. Cui Haoyan, one of our special enrollment students, was bitten by the Lulin python. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't help save him, Cui Haoyan would have died. Huan Chuyu still smiled. Although he didn't know what great master was behind Bailey Hongzhuang, he was very optimistic about her future. Both her character and personal conduct were worthy of admiration, so right now he had no apprehensions about praising her. Many people knew about Cui Haoyan's accomplishments in the special enrollment class. Everyone was surprised when they heard Cui Haoyan's name being mentioned. Since he had even brought up Cui Haoyan, it must be true. I didn't expect it was actually Bailey Hongzhuang who had cured Cui Haoyan's injury. Right, it's no wonder that Zhang Yunfeng thanked Bailey Hongzhuang. It's truly unexpected for Bailey Hongzhuang to have such great medicinal skills at her young age. Tong Qingyun sighed with admiration as he said smilingly, before I had thought Cui Haoyan could only go to the godly doctor in Fengbo country's imperial city. I didn't expect for Miss Bailey to have actually cured him first. Haha. Huan Chuyu laughed brightly. The godly doctor in Fengbo country's imperial city is Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing this, everybody stared at Bailey Honghong dumbstruck. Although Godly Doctor Square was far away in the Imperial City, rumors of it had spread far. Everyone knew that the Godly Doctor in Godly Doctor Square could cure the most difficult cases under heaven and that her age was very young. Nobody thought that it'd be Bailey Hongzhuang. Wasn't her age just a little too young? I misheard, right? Tong Qingyun's face was stunned. The Godly Doctor is Miss Bailey? Since ancient times, the most famous heroes have always been young. Huan Chuyu smiled lightly. Gu Songyun also heard about the Godly Doctor's reputation, but he truly couldn't link Godly Doctor Square and Bailey Hongzhuang together. Remembering how he had called Bailey Honghong a newborn calf, he couldn't help but feel somewhat ashamed. Wei Meidai stared blankly. She didn't dare to believe what she heard just now as the truth. Godly Doctor Square's master. That was a real master in the field of medicine. Bailey Hongzhuang. How could it be? Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face had a slight smile on it. Even though Huan Chuyu praised her so much, she hadn't shown any pride. Everyone nodded inwardly. This was an example everybody should follow. If everyone acted like Wei Meidai, not knowing the other's identity, who knew when they'd disappear? Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's exceptional in medicinal skill, she shouldn't be as great of a genius with refining pills, right? Gu Songyun was still very arrogant. Although a Godly Doctor was truly extraordinary, a pill master was still obviously better. Since Bailey Honghong held such high accomplishments in the field of healing, she shouldn't be that good in pill refining. After all, a person's energy was limited. Hearing this, Huan Chiyu's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. Bailey Honghong, you came to take the pill master examination? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, right? After everybody knew about Bailey Hongzhuang's accomplishments in medicine, thinking about how she was taking the pill master examination, their faces all couldn't help but turn a bit strange. Before they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was a doctor, they had only known that she had the channel opening pill and had believed that she was a pill master. Now that they were aware, they simply couldn't believe Bailey Hongzhuang was taking the pill master's examination. Medicinal skills and pill refining were both very hard skills to understand and master. For Bailey Honghong to reach such an attainment of her skills was already an incredible feat. If Bailey Honghong really could also refine pills along with her medicinal skills, wouldn't her talent be just too heaven-defying? Chapter 322. This wasn't everyone not believing in Bailey Hongzhuang's talent. Wei Meidai has been following Gu Pangyun in pill refining since childhood, but she still isn't even a rank 1 pill master. Even though it was like that, Wei Meidai was still a genius at pill definition. Because amongst the other pill master apprentices their age, apart from Lu Qinyue, nobody even had the qualifications to participate. Bailey Hongzhuang's current achievements with medicine were already enough to make everyone stunned. If she could also have such accomplishments in pill refining, then she wouldn't be human. Old Huan, I didn't know about Bailey Hongzhuang's medicinal skills, but she even said that her pill refining skills were better than Wei Meidai in front of everybody. Isn't this simply talking nonsense? Gu Songyun's chin raised slightly, his cold face filled with displeasure. Earlier he had lost a lot of face, so no matter what, he needed to snatch some back from Bailey Hongzhuang. He didn't care how good Bailey Honghong's medicinal skills were. If Bailey Honghong's pill refining techniques weren't good, it was her wrong. Master, this guy's really too much. Little Black's face was resentful. This guy was too shameless. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Gu Songyun with disgust, a trace of coldness in her jade-like black eyes. From the beginning to now, it was that pair of Gu master and disciple finding trouble with her, but now all the blame was pushed upon her body. She had never seen somebody this shameless, really. You've never even seen my skills, so why are you saying I'm talking big? Her cold, indifferent voice held a trace of provocation. Since Gu Songyun was being so shameless to her, she didn't need to worry about giving him face. Gu Songyun had originally wanted to say Bailey Honghong was boasting, so when she later failed the pill master's examination, the awkward one would naturally be her. But he hadn't expected Bailey Honghong to suddenly ask such a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang, my master and Master Huan were talking. How could you interrupt as you please? Wei Meidai was watching at the side and had no chance to speak, so when she saw Bailey Honghong's rudeness towards Gu Songyun, she immediately jumped at her. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brow, glancing at Wei Meidai mockingly. You and I are total strangers, so what does my matter have with you? Wei Meidai was startled. Why couldn't Bailey Hongzhuang just act with common sense? Normally speaking, with such a big label crashing at her, Bailey Hongzhuang should have been in a fluster. But why didn't Bailey Honghong seem to care at all? The sentence left her with no way to respond. Gu Songyun frowned. Old Huan, your students are really too outrageous. Their parents truly didn't teach them well. Just as Gu Songyun said those words, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly darkened, staring at Gu Songyun icily. Although she, Bailey Hongzhuang, still didn't know who her own biological parents were, there was no way she would let others slander them. You have guts, what did you say again? Her icy cold voice didn't seem to contain the slightest bit of warmth. Bailey Hongzhuang had long lost her sweet, indifferent appearance, replaced by a bone-chilling iciness. Although she was very much disgusted by Gu Songyun, since she was his elder, she restrained herself. But Gu Songyun only grew more and more excessive. She couldn't be blamed for this. Bailey Hongzhuang's words made the atmosphere grow sluggish. Everyone stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. Nobody expected her to say such bold words. Chapter 323. Huan Chuyu frowned. Gu Songyun's words were truly too excessive. He and Gu Songyun knew each other for many years, and he understood his narrow-minded temper very well. If you provoked his people, he would find every possible way to get revenge. But the person behind Bailey Hongzhuang definitely wasn't simple, and couldn't possibly have an ordinary background. Bailey Hongzhuang's sentence didn't give Gu Songyun any face at all. He didn't dare to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang had dared to say such a thing to him right in front of Huan Chuyu. What did you say just now? Gu Songyun's eyes were filled with anger. He clenched his teeth and asked again. He didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to say that again. I said if you have the guts, say it one more time. Bailey Hongzhuang's face didn't change, repeating her words coldly. As the family leader in her past life, she had seen many pill masters. Nobody had ever dared to say such a thing to her. Even though this was her second life, no way would she let Gu Songyun insult her parents. Sensing Bailey Hongzhuang's icy gaze, Gu Songyun shivered. In her gaze, he had clearly sensed a strong killing intent. As a third-grade pill master, he had naturally seen many experts. But this was still the first time he felt such terrifying killing intent. Gu Songyun fell in a daze, unable to speak. Huan Chuyu also took note of Bailey Hongzhuang's imposing aura, his eyes immediately lighting up. Bailey Hongzhuang really was out of the ordinary. Such an aura coming out from a young teenage girl was truly rare. Tong Qingyuan was secretly speechless, his heart holding a trace of fear towards Bailey Hongzhuang. From Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, she seemed to be even more arrogant than Gu Songyun. Seeing the mood become awkward, Huan Chuyu had no choice but to help smooth things over. Since Bailey Hongzhuang and Wei Meidai both came to take the pill master's exam, why let them take it now? Gu Songyun was frozen awkwardly, so seeing Huan Chuyu give him a way out, he immediately seized the opportunity. That's also good. I'll see just how good Bailey Hongzhuang's pill refining skills really are. Gu Songyun snorted angrily, flinging his sleeve as he entered the examination hall. Wei Meidai glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang furiously before following after Gu Songyun. Huan Chuyu shook his head before calling Tong Qingyuan and Bailey Hongzhuang into the examination hall too. The crowd watched as Gu Songyun and the others went into the examination halls, their hearts itching. The examination hall wasn't an area they could go to. This Bailey Hongzhuang's really too daring, treating Master Gu like that, and yet Master Gu still had no way out. Master Gu and Wei Meidai are always so arrogant. It's rare for somebody to make them suffer a loss. Bailey Hongzhuang really is amazing. Bailey Hongzhuang is Godly Dr. Square's master. Many people seek her to treat their illnesses, so naturally she doesn't care about Master Gu. Hearing this, everyone nodded. That was very reasonable. On pill refination, Master Huan was above Master Gu, but in medicine, there was nobody above Bailey Hongzhuang. With regards to talent, Bailey Hongzhuang was fully deserving of being called a master. The only thing blocking her was her age that made others incapable of calling out, Master. Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the heavy black curtains, the examination hall appearing in front of her. Inside, circular pill furnaces were laid out, a wooden square table set by each one, evidently used to hold pill ingredients. Chapter 324. A high circular platform was spiraled around the pill furnaces. That was clearly the judge's seat. Sitting on the high platform, the judging pill masters could clearly observe everything that was happening. Bailey Hongzhuang, choose a seat and prepare to start refining pills. Huan Chuyu said. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang walked down the platform and randomly chose a pill furnace to sit at. Next, we'll begin the first-grade pill master's examination. I will first explain the rules. Tong Qingyuan spoke slowly. Wei Meidai naturally already knew about the rules, but this was Bailey Hongzhuang's first time, so Tong Qingyuan had specifically said it for her to hear. The examination is to refine a pill randomly selected by the examination judge. You have 3 sets of materials. As long as you successfully refine the pill within the time limit, you'll pass. The time limit is 1 hour. Bailey Hongzhuang inwardly nodded. This examination was very fair. Even for pill masters, refining pills always had a chance for failure. The higher the pill's grade, the higher the chance of failure. The reason why they had 3 sets of materials was so even if they failed, they could try again. The rate of failure was something all pill masters had to face. 2 things reflected a pill master's strength. The first was the highest grade pill they could refine, and the second was their success rate. It was because the failure rate was so high that all pill masters had countless precious pill ingredients piled up. If there wasn't enough ingredients to practice with, there was no way to become a pill master. How about I draw the examination's pill today? Just as Tong Qingyuan was about to draw the pill topic, Gu Songyun suddenly interrupted. Tong Qingyuan subconsciously looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. With Gu Songyun's temper, he definitely wouldn't make it advantageous for Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing Tong Qingyuan's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. With her strength, she didn't care about what pill Gu Songyun chose at all. Gu Songyun and Wei Meidai were unexpected variables. She didn't want to make things difficult for Tong Qingyuan. Since Gu Songyun wanted to do something to her, just let him come. In any case, she was confident that the one with their face beaten would be Gu Songyun. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang without any complaints, Tong Qingyuan agreed. Okay. Gu Songyun took out a slip of paper from the trunk of examination pill topics and glanced at it before speaking. Today's pill examination topic is returning chi pills. His voice dropped and Gu Songyun seamlessly tucked the slip of paper into his sleeve. Obviously, what was really written on the slip of paper was no longer important. Wei Meidai's eyes brightened when she heard the words returning chi pills, her face filled with unconcealable excitement. For the past few days she had been practicing refining the returning chi pill, and had managed to successfully refine one a few days ago. She hadn't thought that today's examination topic would precisely be returning chi pills. The heavens were truly on her side. Thinking of this, Wei Meidai glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang proudly. This time she wanted to show Bailey Hongzhuang the difference between them. Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't worried at all. Returning chi pills were the pills she refined the most these days. Before, to go to Luo Yun for the practical training, she had deliberately been refining a lot of returning chi pills. Returning chi pills was her highest success rate. Gu Songyun's carefully selected choice had only given her a wedding dress. Chapter 325. Quickly, the Pill Master Guild's attendant brought the materials needed for refining the returning chi pill over and placed them in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and Wei Meidai. Looking at the materials on the table, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't hesitate, and in an instant the fire beneath the pill furnace lit up in a fiery burst. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang prepared to refine the pill without batting an eyelash, Wei Meidai was a bit surprised. Amongst the grade 1 pills, the returning chi pill had a high degree of difficulty. Moreover, the pill formula each pill master possessed had differences between them. Though the pills commonly seen in the market were refined from pill formulas all pill masters possessed, the returning chi pill's formula was very precious. Not just anyone would be able to have possession of it. Bailey Hongzhuang's look at the moment was an air of relaxed calm. It couldn't be that this was faked, right? The returning chi pill is not an easy pill to refine. There's no sense in putting on an act. Just give up so as to avoid making a fool of yourself later. Wei Meidai sneered at Bailey Hongzhuang, words full of ridicule. Though she allowed Bailey Hongzhuang to play to the gallery, she didn't believe for a second that Bailey Hongzhuang would really be able to refine a pill. Bailey Hongzhuang shot Wei Meidai a faint glance. You don't even have the ability to pass the exam yourself. So don't go running your mouth off here. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's merciless reply, Wei Meidai became angry. She really didn't understand why Bailey Hongzhuang was so confident. You're only a doctor and not a pill master, Wei Meidai said coldly, eyes full of envy. Seeing that Wei Meidai was so noisy, Bailey Hongzhuang slightly turned and looked condescendingly at the other. Did you perhaps not know that the Godly Doctor Square also sold pills? Wei Meidai paused. Of course she knew the Godly Doctor Square sold pills. What's more, the price of those pills were 20% higher compared to the market value. Even though the price was so much higher, an endless stream of people still went there to buy pills. Some time ago, Master sent someone to buy a pill from the Godly Doctor Square. After careful study, He actually discovered that the effect of the pills sold by the godly Dr. Square were much greater than the effect of the ones currently in the market. It was really inconceivable. Thinking of this, a trace of suspicion unwittingly flashed through Wei Meidai's eyes. Perhaps there was a chance to understand the secret of the godly Dr. Square's pill formula from Bailey Hongzhuang's own mouth. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang is the master of the godly Dr. Square. I do wonder which great pill master temporarily left them there to be sold. If someone pays a higher price, then those pills would have nothing to do with you. You're not going to tell me that the pills sold at Godly Dr. Square were sold by you, right? TSK. Wei Meidai laughed, chaotically trembling like flowers swaying on a branch with ridicule and mockery written all over her face. So chaotically trembling like flowers swaying on a branch described the action of a beautiful woman when she is laughing, and I don't know how it would look like, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up into a bewitching and dazzling smile. Her alluring and perfect face suddenly became peerlessly beautiful and glamorous. The words that came out of her mouth left Wei Meidai boggled and speechless. It's rare that you are smart for once. Those airy words were indifferent yet confident. From beginning to end, Bailey Hongzhuang held the air of a great master, giving Wei Meidai a feeling of someone at the pinnacle. Wei Meidai froze, the ridiculing smile on her face dissipated into thin air following Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Impossible, definitely impossible. Wei Meidai denied strongly. According to her master, to be able to refine pills with perfect efficacy, Godly Dr. Square's pills were definitely refined by great master with very high pill refining skills. If there was a chance to get acquainted, even her master would have to address the other as great master. Telling her now that Bailey Hongzhuang was the great pill master she admired, how could she accept it? Chapter 326 Ding. Tong Qingyuan hit the gong, indicating that the examination has begun and that the incense stick has already been ignited. Bailey Hongzhuang no longer paid attention to the noisy Wei Meidai beside her, directly starting to refine her pill. She had refined far too many returning qi pills, so refining it again now was just like a walk in the park. She first placed the indigo star plant into the pill furnace, the flames quickly swallowing it up. Under her watch, the indigo star plant quickly withered. Under the flame's purification, all the impurities were dissolved, leaving a fine, pure powder. Bailey Hongzhuang then inserted another herb into the pill furnace, allowing the flame to swallow it again. The flame danced under the control of Bailey Hongzhuang's spirit power, seeming just like a jumping sprite. More and more pill ingredients were added in. Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were like moving clouds and flowing water, as if resembling nature itself. Chinese idioms, it means very natural and unforced, highest quality. The flame that was always troublesome to control was like a docile baby in her hands. Her face was completely calm, with an air like a master's. Huan Chuyo's eyes slowly changed as he watched Bailey Hongzhuang refine the pills, finally changing into a trace of awe. An expert's moves, with not a single flaw. Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were smooth and experienced. Obviously, she had placed a lot of time and effort into pill refining. Even if it was them, their technique might not be better. Watching Bailey Hongzhuang refining the pills was like looking at a piece of art. Such calmness gave people a sense of beauty. By contrast, Wei Meidai on the other side seemed to be having trouble and was tense with fear, scared the flame would escape her control. Refining pills were a result of hard work and numerous revisions. Only after practicing many times would the difficulty fade away. The gap between the two was clear as day. Tong Qingyuan's eyes were filled with shock and admiration. Bailey Hongzhuang seriously too amazing. Her pill refinement techniques are like nature itself, truly at the peak of perfection. There was something Tong Qingyuan thought but didn't say. He thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's techniques were probably even better than his, but he still couldn't bring himself to say it. Huan Chuyu nodded slightly, admiration clear in his eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang really is a talent. He had seen many talents in Xingxua continent, but never had he seen one as heaven-defying as Bailey Hongzhuang. Other people, even if given 10 more years, still might not be able to get similar achievements to the ones achieved by this 10-something-year-old girl. How could others not be shocked? Gu Songyun's proud face slowly disappeared. He swallowed, not daring to believe that this was real. Now there was almost no doubt that Bailey Hongzhuang really was a pill master. If Bailey Hongzhuang passed the first-grade pill master exam, he'd lose far too much face. But right now Tong Qingyuan and Huan Chuyu were focusing intently on Bailey Hongzhuang, not paying any attention to his thoughts. After all the ingredients were purified, Bailey Hongzhuang covered the pill furnace's lid and enveloped the pill furnace in her spirit force. Turning the purified ingredients into a pill was the most difficult part. Huan Chuyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's calm and tranquil appearance, and he was no longer worried. The pill refinement would definitely be a success. Wei Meidai noticed her master staring at Bailey Hongzhuang as if he had seen a ghost. Her heart couldn't help but grow a bit curious as she turned back to look at her. When she saw Wei Meidai was stunned. She had only purified the third ingredient, yet Bailey Hongzhuang finished all the purifying and started refining. Chapter 327 SS. While Wei Meidai was shocked, there was a hiss, followed by a burning smell. It turns out, during the time Wei Meidai was distracted, the pill ingredients had actually already been burned to ashes. Wei Meidai's face instantly turned ugly. She didn't expect that just one moment of distraction would lead to her failing with the first set of ingredients. She glared at Bailey Hongzhuang angrily, only to find that Bailey Hongzhuang hadn't given her a single glance. Wei Meidai raised her head. Noticing Gu Songyun's reprimanding gaze, she didn't dare to delay and immediately picked up the second set of herbs to start refining again. Time slowly passed by. Bailey Hongzhuang's face never changed, filled with confidence. Finally, a sweet scent floated in the air as her beautiful face broke out into a smile. The pill refinement going to be a success. Huan Chuyu and Tong Qingyuan's faces also broke out into a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang was going to pass the first-grade pill master's examination for sure. Wei Meidai smelled the sweet and fragrant scent, her face becoming even more unsightly. She succeeded? Bailey Hongzhuang actually succeeded. Before she had said it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to succeed, but now she was still purifying the pill while Bailey Hongzhuang already succeeded in refining the pill. Wei Meidai's heart was in chaos. Her last trace of hope was completely obliterated. She recalled what had happened in the guild's lobby earlier. If that matter was spread out, she'd lose all her face. Psst. A familiar sound echoed. Just as Wei Meidai was about to succeed in the purification, the ingredients were once more burnt to ashes. Wei Meidai's face turned ashen. From the start, she wasn't proficient in controlling the flame and adding on her chaotic heart, there was no way for her to control it well enough. Ding. Bailey Hongzhuang reached out. The pill furnace opened, a perfectly round, full pill standing in the middle. She easily picked it up and emptied it into the porcelain bottle on the table. Her movements were simple and natural. Bailey Hongzhuang placed the porcelain bottle on the table before looking at Tong Qingyuan and Huan Chuyu standing on the high platform. I'm finished refining. Huan Chuyu and Tong Qingyuan walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's table and picked up the porcelain bottle to look inside it. One perfectly round, plump returning qi pill was placed inside it, a strong medicinal odor filling their nostrils. Huan Chuyu nodded, not hiding his satisfaction as he announced, "This returning qi pill has been refined very well, so much that it can be described as perfect." Tong Qingyuan's face was also covered with approval. Indeed. In that case, does that mean I'm a first-grade pill master now? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly and asked. Of course. Tong Qingyuan replied promptly. As a second-grade pill master, he was also usually chased after by everybody. But in front of the godly Dr. Bailey Hongzhuang, he didn't have the slightest bit of arrogance. Many thanks then. Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands, smiling. On the other side, ignored by everybody, Wei Meidai was awkwardly standing in her original spot. The set time still didn't arrive yet, but everybody had clearly forgotten about her existence. Should she try to refine the pill again or go home and train? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Gu Songyun, a mocking smile playing on her lips. Needless to say, her meaning was very clear. Gu Songyun's face flushed before waving his sleeves and leaving. We're going. Wei Meidai wasn't sure what to do and immediately left with Gu Songyun when she heard his words. If they continued to stay here, they'd probably only suffer more humiliation. Chapter 328. Tong Qingyuan and Huan Chuyu didn't say anything when they saw Gu Songyun and Wei Meidai leave. Can I continue and take the second-grade pill master examination? Bailey Hongzhuang slowly spoke of her idea. Since she already came, it was better to do it all now to avoid troubles later. Tong Qingyuan's face changed even more when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's request. In his eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang at her age passing the first-grade pill master's exam was already amazing. But he hadn't expected that Bailey Hongzhuang still even wanted to take the second-grade pill master's exam as well. After seeing Gu Songyun lose all his face, He knew clearly that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't a person who spoke thoughtlessly. Since she said so, she definitely had the confidence to pass the exam. Until now he had always thought that Lu Qingyue was their only genius pill master, but now she saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was one too. Plus, Bailey Hongzhuang was still also very proficient in medicine. Comparing the two, Bailey Hongzhuang's talent truly could be described as monstrous. Huan Chuyu actually wasn't as shocked. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be compared to others, so whatever miraculous things that came from her was no longer as strange. Miss Bailey, you can't take the second-grade pill master examination now, Tong Qingyuan replied. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow, a hint of doubt in her clear eyes. Why? First we need to confer you the rank of a first-grade pill master and inform your status to the Pill Masters Guild. You can take the second-grade pill master's exam after you get your first-grade pill master's robe. Bailey Hongzhuang understood, so it's like that. Tong Qingyuan smiled faintly. The fastest speed would be around a week before you can take the second-grade pill master's exam. After all, not everyone's like Miss Bailey, who can do 2 examinations on the same day. His honest voice had a sigh to it. Tong Qingyuan had stayed in the Pill Masters Guild for a very long time. Directly going to the second-grade Pill Masters exam right after passing the first was something probably only Bailey Hongzhuang could do. Know that after other Pill Masters passed the first-grade exam, the number of years separating them from the second exam was innumerable. Even if it was Lu Qingyue, she also had to train a long time before passing the second-grade examination. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. Then I'll come back to take the second-grade Pill Master's examination later. Under Tong Qingyuan's lead, Bailey Hongzhuang left her contact information before leaving the Pill Masters Guild. After the Pill Master robes were done, the Pill Masters Guild would deliver them to Bailey Hongzhuang. As for the second-grade Pill Master's exam, she wasn't in a hurry. As long as she verified her identity as a Pill Master, nobody can doubt the authenticity of the channel-opening pills in her hand. The reason why she came to the Pill Masters Guild was so the auction of the 3 channel-opening pills could proceed smoothly without troubles. After Bailey Hongzhuang left, Tong Qingyuan turned to look at Huan Chuyu. Old Huan, that Bailey girl really isn't a simple character. Huan Chuyu smiled faintly. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements all have the air of a master's. Her background must be remarkable. Then, should we investigate them? Huan Chuyu raised his right hand, stopping Tong Qingyuan from continuing. Whatever her background is, they aren't in conflict with us, so why do we need to investigate them? If it offends them, I'm afraid the gains do not make up for the losses. Tong Qingyuan nodded. I understand. Chapter 329. The moon was bright, only a few stars in the sky, and the wind was cool like water. Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating in her room when a sudden burst of footsteps sounded outside. Almost immediately after, somebody knocked on her door. Hearing the familiar knocks, a trace of a smile appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Xia Jiqing knocked a few more times. Just by hearing the flurried footsteps, Bailey Hongzhuang already knew that it was her. Jiman, you came. Bailey Hongzhuang opened the door and welcomed Xia Jiqing inside, a clear smile on her beautiful face. How convenient, I was just about to visit you tomorrow. Now that you came, I don't need to look for you anymore. Hearing that, Xia Jiqing was startled. You were looking for me? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Her hand reached into her space pouch, a white pill in the porcelain bottle appearing in her hands. This is for you. Xia Jiqing took the white porcelain bottle, looking at the plump, full pill inside. The gears in her brain turned as Xia Jiqing's eyes turned huge. Hongzhuang, you shouldn't give. Seeing Xia Jiqing unable to even form a full coherent sentence, Bailey Hongzhuang laughed. Don't worry, it's for you. Assist. Xia Jiqing sucked in a cold breath. When Bailey Hongzhuang had handed her the bottle, her heart already had a faint guess of what it was. But after knowing that it really was the channel-opening pill, it was still hard for her to believe. It was such an expensive pill. This is too precious, I can't take it. Xia Jiqing tried to refuse again and again. Although she had long thought of Bailey Hongzhuang as a close friend, the time they knew each other wasn't for very long. She didn't have anything, so how could she accept Bailey Hongzhuang's expensive gift? Know that ever since the auction for the 3 channel opening pills was announced, every student in the school was trying to think of every possible method to prepare for the auction. Just take it, okay? This pill is extremely useful for us right now. Xia Jiqing shook her head. I know that it's very useful, but because it's so useful, I can't take it. She sincerely thought of Hongzhuang as a friend, and so she never sought any of her riches. Bailey Hongzhuang grinned. Shimon, you're thinking too much about me. Since we're friends, you don't need to think so much. She and Xia Jiqing didn't know each other very well but had hit it off very well. Seeing Bali Hongzhuang's earnest words, Xia Jiqing hesitated a little before accepting the channel opening pill. Hongzhuang, in the future if you ever need anything from me, I definitely won't refuse. She was touched by Bailey Hongzhuang's sincerity. Xia Jiqing secretly resolved in her heart, if Bailey Hongzhuang ever had a time where she needed something, she'd do everything in her power to get it. Oh right, Shimon, why did you come find me? Bailey Hongzhuang asked, her ink-black eyes having traces of a smile. Hey, I forgot something. Xia Jiqing suddenly remembered, actually I didn't come for anything really important. I just heard some really interesting news from somebody. What news? Xia Jiqing laughed mysteriously. Today I heard that a new special enrollment student was coming to Azure Water School tomorrow. You also received the notification to go tomorrow, right? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. After she came back from the Pill Masters Guild, she did indeed receive the notification to go, but she didn't know why. A new special enrollment student? Bailey Hongzhuang was startled. Weren't me and Bai Junyu the only new special enrollment students this year? Chapter 330, that's right. We haven't heard about the existence of a third special enrollment student before. It's precisely due to this that this special enrollment student looks to be very phenomenal. Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. The status of special enrollment students at the Azure Water School were already extraordinary. The identity of this special enrollment student must be even more exceptional. A trace of doubt filled Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes. She had never heard of any news regarding this special enrollment student before. Dongfang Yu and the others had also never mentioned it. She believed that they also didn't know that a third special enrollment student existed. Thus, this third special enrollment student really was a phenomenal existence. This isn't the main point though. The main point is that I heard that this special enrollment student not only possesses excellent strength, but is also extraordinarily handsome. Xia Jiqing arched her eyebrows, eyes full of electrifying excitement. To girls her age, nothing is more appealing to them than handsome men. Seeing Xia Jiqing's excited expression, Bailey Hongzhuang had a helpless smile on her face. Sure enough, this was the point Xia Jiqing paid most attention to. This third special enrollment student hasn't arrived yet. How would you know if he's handsome? Bailey Hongzhuang teased. Xia Jiqing blinked. Within the school there is no lack of some well-informed students. There is a slight difference between us ordinary students and you special enrollment students. To be able to become special enrollment students, you guys must have directed all your energy on cultivating. However, we ordinary students are still very concerned with gossip, especially the female students. Since you know that, then why don't you redirect all your energy towards cultivating? Bailey Hongzhuang thought it was a bit funny. Didn't you want to get into the Pill Master course quickly? Of course I want to. Xia Jiqing gave a sparkling smile. I was in the midst of cultivating when I heard my roommate talk about it. This news was so shocking, I naturally couldn't help but listen a bit longer. Right now, everyone was very curious about the identity of this special enrollment student. You already know this. Amongst the special enrollment students, female students are most concerned that Gong Shaoqing is very close with Lu Qingyue as well as you and Dongfang Yu also having an excellent relationship. Who knows how many girls' hearts were broken. Only Bai Junyu is left. Now hearing that there is another outstanding and handsome man is coming, why wouldn't everyone get excited? Bailey Hongzhuang twitched. Dongfang Yu and I are just classmates and nothing else. It was a fact that Gong Shaoqing and Lu Qingyue had an intimate relationship. However, there was nothing between her and Dongfang Yu. Of course I know that. Xia Jiqing nodded and then shrugged, but the other students don't know. Senior Dongfang has always treated others gently, is affable and easygoing, and is loved by most of the female students. Ever since you became acquainted with Senior Dongfang, everyone presumed that the two of you didn't have a shallow relationship. I've heard that many senior sisters silently shed tears in the middle of the night. Master, your sin is really too grave. Little Black said emotionally. Little White nodded, feeling the same way. If Dibei-chan knew, he'd definitely be jealous. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched. If Xia Jiqing wasn't here, she would have definitely sent those ditch-digging fur balls flying with a slap. Tian, I'm assuming she means that they are digging a hole for themselves. It can't be that exaggerated. Bailey Hongzhuang felt frustrated. It looks like I'll have to pay more attention in the future. Xia Jiqing shook her head and grabbed Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, looking unusually serious. Why should that matter? Senior Dongfang is a very good person after all. If you can get together with Senior Dongfang, I would be very happy for you. It's because he's a good man that you should grasp and hold on to him tightly with your own hands. Chapter 331. Watching Xia Jiman play matchmaker, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately dashed cold water on her thoughts. Stop thinking so much. I don't like Dongfang Yu how a woman likes a man. Bailey Hongzhuang explained, a clear smile on her beautiful face. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's serious words, not hiding anything at all, Xia Jiman couldn't help but stare at Bailey Hongzhuang. Are you really saying the truth? You really don't think about Dongfang Sr. like a woman about a man? I really don't. Bailey Hongzhuang said helplessly. Xia Jiman sighed, her eyes filled with hopelessness. Seriously, what a pity. Dongfang Sr. would be such a good partner, but you actually don't have the slightest bit of interest. A pity, never have I met such a picky woman. Bailey Hongzhuang rolled her eyes when she heard Xia Jiman's sigh of pity. What was Xia Jiman always thinking in that brain of hers? If you're ever interested in Senior Dongfang, then you must hold on tightly. Bailey Hongzhuang grinned. Senior Dongfang is yours. I never thought like that. Xia Jiman immediately waved her hands. Her friend's man, she would never do that. Haha. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, her eyes shining brightly. I think you and Baijunyu would be a pretty good match. Ah. Xia Jiman's eyes widened. That noisy guy? I'm not interested in him at all. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Xia Jiman might not be interested in him, but Baijunyu was definitely interested in her. Senior Dongfang's so outstanding, why don't you like him? Xia Jiman's eyes narrowed, filled with doubt. Don't tell me that there's already somebody in your heart? Somebody in my heart? A golden figure couldn't help but appear in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. A tall and straight-back, peerless talent. From the day they met, he had always been standing by her side, casting away everything just for a glance to make sure she was okay when he heard she was in trouble. Xia Jiman was originally just joking when she asked, but seeing Bailey Hongzhuang baffled, her eyes suddenly lit up. Could it be that there really was somebody already in Hongzhuang's heart? Hongzhuang, tell me the truth. Ah. Xia Jiman said proudly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. It'll be clear in the future. Seeing Hongzhuang speak so deeply, Xia Jiman also no longer asked. After all, some secrets you simply weren't supposed to peer into. The next day the sun was bright and golden, no clouds in the sky. Bailey Hongzhuang got up early. The message she had received yesterday said for her to get up early today to get introduced to the third special enrollment student. I wonder who the third special enrollment student is and if they're really good enough. Ah. If they could let Azure Water School make an exception and accept another applicant, this third special enrollment student naturally can't be simple. But the demonic beast tide killed a lot of Azure Water School's talents, so it'd make sense to loosen the standards a little. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked holding Baisher, hearing everyone talk about the third special enrollment student on the way. When Bailey Hongzhuang arrived, Dongfang Yu and the others were already there waiting. They, as Azure Water School's backbone, had already long gotten up early to help prepare. Only Baijunyu and Cui Haoyan didn't come due to their wounds. Bailey Hongzhuang, you came. Dongfang Yu smiled brightly, calling out when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang arrive. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. You guys all came really early. Chapter 332. Usually when the school has morning assembly, us special enrollment students all come a bit early. You and Baijunyu are new and do not have to do so. Lu Qingyue walked up to Bailey Hongzhuang's side, eyes slightly gleaming. Hongzhuang, I heard that you passed the rank 1 pill master exam yesterday. Lu Qingyue was Huan Chuyo's disciple. To know of this so soon, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't feel surprised and immediately nodded in admission. Your speed is really quick. Lu Qingyue chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips parted in a smile. 5 days later, I have to auction off the channel opening pill. Taking the exam earlier was to not give people any basis for attack. Have you heard? There's supposed to be a third special enrollment student coming to the school today. An expression of curiosity appeared on Lu Qingyue's delicate and daintily beautiful face. This is the first in the history of the Azure Water School. Presumably, this new student shouldn't have a simple background. Dongfang Yu arched his eyebrows. elegantly charming seductive eyes were suffused with enchanting smile. Bailey Hongzhuang gave a shallow smile, her face was non-committal. No matter how special of a background the other has, it was of no relation to her. Just when everyone was conversing with one another, the principal and vice principal slowly walked over. "Good morning, principal, vice principal." Seeing the principal and vice principal, all the students greeted them one after the other. The two walked up the high platform together and looked down at the many students gathered below. Both of them showed a kind and satisfying smile on their faces. "The reason we've gathered all of you here today is to introduce a special enrollment student to everyone," Principal Ren Tianxiong said, getting straight to the point. As a cultivator, he had never liked formalities and instead held to being straightforward as cultivators are. Once these words were said, a curious gaze shone in the eyes of all the students present. It looks like the rumors they heard were indeed not false. They only did not know who this third special enrollment student is. To not only be able to get the Azure Water School to make an exception, but also evoke a ceremonious introduction from the principal and vice principal was definitely not the kind of treatment an ordinary person would get. Following the end of Ren Tianxiong's words, a man slowly walked up the platform. The man was dressed in pale golden robes, statue tall and straight, numerous inky black strands held up by a white suet jade hair piece. His peerlessly handsome face looked as if it were carved, long eyebrows extending into his hair, narrow eyes deep and profound. He stood with a graceful and elegantly wind-like demeanor. Shining gold rays of sunshine splashed on his tall and straight figure, as if he was like a god, boundlessly elegant. The audience below stared at the special enrollment student on the platform, inadvertently exclaiming at the same time, "Heavens! The rumors were really true. This new special enrollment student is really a rarely seen beauty. It's the first time I've ever seen someone born with such good looks. I'm drunk. He is nothing short of my dream lover." The females in the crowd all went crazy. In their minds, Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu have always been their ideal lovers. However, Gong Xiaoqing was very close with Lu Qingyue. Also, Dong Fangyu and Bailey Hongzhuang's relationship wasn't shallow. It didn't seem like there was any hope for them. Then the third special enrollment appeared now and he was above Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu. Different from Gong Xiaoqing's cold demeanor and Dong Fangyu's gentleness, this third special enrollment student was above due to his dignified and noble manner. It was as if he was a born aristocrat. Every gesture was enough to exude an inherent nobility, intoxicating everyone around him. Surprise emerged in the eyes of Dong Fangyu, Gong Xiaoqing and Lu Qingyue. This special enrollment student's degree of excellence was beyond their expectations. Chapter 333. Some people, even when they say nothing, do nothing and just sit there quietly, you'd still be able to feel their remarkable presence. This special enrollment student just stood on the high platform and a naturally grand and imposing manner had slowly started to flow out, causing the audience to not dare underestimate him. Even the knowledgeable and experienced Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu felt a bit of shock in their hearts. As they are similarly talented people, this feeling was even more obvious. This special enrollment student was definitely not simple. Below, Xinyuan Huan stared hard at the figure standing on top of the platform, eyes full of disbelief. Impossible, this was impossible. Xinyuan Huan endlessly shouted in his heart. This was definitely not real. Wasn't he cripped? Sitting in a wheelchair for so many years, how is he able to stand up now? All these years, Dibei Chen had been the object of his oppression and scathing remarks, mud that he ferociously trampled upon. Now, that mud actually had such a peerlessly elegant appearance. This was akin to a victory over him. How could there be a day he'd be able to stand up? Xiao Zifen stared blankly up at Dibei Chen. Dibei Chen was always been very famous within the imperial city. Possessing a perfect and handsome face, it was a pity that Chen Wangya was a cripple. He had seen him before. However, before his eyes was an elegant sun radiating the air of noble around him, not a bit of the dejected attitude of a cripple could be found. Xiao Zifen couldn't help but turn his thoughts to Bailey Hongzhuang, who was ridiculed by everyone all these years. Didn't she also wash away all the shame under everyone's astonished gazes, becoming a first-rate genius? His mind slowly filled with the past rumors in the imperial city, a blind with a cripple, a match made in heaven. Looking back at it now, Chen Wangya and Bailey Hongzhuang really were a match made in heaven. However, it can be said now that they are a perfect match made in heaven. Gazing at that figure in pale gold, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes were as quiet as a deep well and held a bit of turmoil, showing shock and surprise and even a bit of pleasant surprise. Bei Chen had always told her that after he finishes dealing with his business, he'd come to look for her. Only she didn't think that Bei Chen would unexpectedly use this kind of method to appear before her. Azure Water School's special enrollment student? It couldn't be that. He wants to stay at the Azure Water School and cultivate, right? Haha, Bei Chen came. Yeah, he really gets people excited. He definitely wasn't assured about letting Master stay here by herself. Ah. Little Black and Little White excitedly bounced around. Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that 2 round balls were rolling around on the top of her head. Her lips involuntarily twitched a bit. Did these 2 still have the sense that they were supposed to be pearl ornaments? If the people next to her saw the pearls on her head rolling around, wouldn't that give them a shock? Fortunately, everyone's attention was still focused on Bei Chen and no one noticed this point. I am Bei Chen and I am much honored to be a part of the Azure Water School. With a magnetic voice that was deep and mellow, handsome eyebrows that held a clear smile, Bei Chen did not conceal the gaze that was staring directly into the crowd at Bailey Hongzhuang. The white dress upon her body was tranquil and beautiful. Standing amongst the crowd, she still shone like a star. It was as if she was a luminous night pearl, dazzling and captivating. Noticing Bei Chen's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slightly curved, eyes glowing with a dazzling smile. Bei Chen similarly curved his lips into a smile, handsome and extraordinary. Both staring at each other with a smile, no words were necessary for them to understand each other. Chapter 334. I'm sure everyone already knows about the demonic beast tide that happened on Luo Yin Mountain. Many of Azure Water School students have died due to that. Ren Qinxiong's face was heavy. Usually when students left for practical training, they would go to Luo Yin Mountain. Nobody expected this rare once-in-a-100-year demonic beast tide to happen. This was the first time in history Azure Water School had so many student casualties. His mood was very dark. In the audience the students all nodded. They knew clearly that the situation was very serious. The students they've studied and cultivated alongside died just like that, no longer able to return. All of the students were emotional. After I and the vice principal talked it over, we've decided to make an exception and accept 1 more special enrollment student, and now we're telling this to everyone. Ren Qinxiong spoke slowly. This was the only solution to Azure Water School's current situation. All of the students revealed expressions of understanding. Azure Water School had always upheld incredibly strict standards, so there was never a lot of students. After the demonic beast tide, there were even less students. Under such a situation, it was already good being able to get 1 more student. Ren Tianxiong and Huan Chuyu only made the decision after several days of consultation. Although taking in another student now was a bit different from normal, it still adhered to their strict standards and filled an important gap. The light in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes was complicated. The principal and vice principal really had thought a lot about this. Gong Xiaoqing, Bei Chen's room will be given to you to arrange. Huan Chuyu looked at Gong Xiaoqing. Gong Xiaoqing nodded his head. I understand. Huan Chuyu nodded slightly before turning to Dong Fangyu. You should bring Bei Chen around to let him familiarize himself here. Don't worry, vice principal. Ren Qianxiong talked a little bit more before leaving with Huan Chuyu. When the 2 left, the originally quiet field suddenly became incredibly lively. The females all stared at Bei Chen. They were too curious. Gong Xiaoqing was already taken and they had no hope to be with Dong Fangyu. They must hold on to the new student, Bei Chen. There were no lack of brave women in the crowd filled with hope towards the tall, handsome Bei Chen. Bei Chen, do you have a girlfriend? Crush. Hearing this, everybody fell into an uproar, roars of laughter appearing in the crowd. With so many women in the crowd, there was no way to know who did it. Xia Jiman's face was startled. I never thought our Azure Water School's women were so bold. But this Bei Chen really is as I heard. His looks don't lose to Dong Fangyu or Gong Xiaoqing at all. Xia Jiman's excited face rested on Bailey Honghaung's shoulder. Don't you think so? Bailey Honghaung smiled lightly and didn't deny it. Bei Chen was always outstanding, even more outstanding than outstanding in a normal person's eyes. Dong Fangyu and Gong Xiaoqing also stared at Bei Chen interestedly. As fellow men, it was especially obvious to them that Bei Chen was truly an outstanding male. So, they were very curious about Bei Chen's reply. Chapter 335. A bit of curiosity was also seen in Lu Qinyue's beautiful eyes. She had always thought that Brother Gong had been outstanding enough. However, with one glance at Dibei-chin, she felt that he was uniquely different. It was as if he was beyond the bounds of the earthly world. To sum it up, perfect. This was the result of the combination of nobility and godliness. Lu Qinyue didn't know his true strength, but from the confident smile on Dibei-chen's face, it was not difficult to guess. He was definitely not weak. Hongzhuang, do you think that Dibei-chen has a sweetheart? Xia Jiqing didn't even attempt to hide the curiosity in her heart, turned her head towards Bailey Hongzhuang and asked. Just as everyone looked at Dibei-chen with curiosity, interested in how he would answer, Dibei-chen's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. His elegantly thin pink lips curved into an evil smile. Dibei-chen's gaze held a bit of craftiness. Looking at Dibei-chen's smile, Bailey Hongzhuang instinctively felt this turn of events wasn't at all good. Perhaps. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was preparing to sneak off quietly, Dibei-chen's voice suddenly rang out. My apologies, but I already have a wife. Once these words left his mouth, the place once again rose to a clamor. The words boggling everyone's minds. Although there was no lack of cultivators who already had a wife here, outstanding men like Dibei-chen usually married a bit later. Moreover, to be able to get Dibei-chen to admit it so readily, it's probable that Dibei-chen is completely satisfied with this wife. Dong Fengyu's expressively seductive eyes had a hint of a smile. This new special enrollment student is really frank, ha. Saying this, Dong Fengyu's eyes involuntarily looked towards Gong Shaoqing and the others. When he caught sight of the slightly strange expression on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, a frown creased his forehead. Bailey Hongzhuang, what's the matter? Lu Qinyue and Xia Jiqing heard the question and also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, hesitantly asking, Hongzhuang, this is? It was when Gong Shaoqing noticed the way Dibei-chen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang that he had a faint premonition. Apparently, Dibei-chen and Bailey Hongzhuang knew each other? Dibei-chen's answer undoubtedly hurt many girls who were full of anticipation. Such a handsome and extraordinary man was hard to come by at the Azure Water School. Unexpectedly, he was already married. Isn't this cutting off all their desires? It was unsure if it was because Dibei-chen was too outstanding or if this female student was deliberately joking. A voice once again rang out. Then, do you have any intention of taking another wife? As these words faded, the loud noise rose from the audience. Even the male students held the attitude of waiting for a good show to unfold. In the Xinjiang continent, polygamy was a normal thing, even more so with outstanding men. Having a few pretty wives following by his side was a very normal thing. However, Dibei-chen had only just arrived at the Azure Water School. No one had the slightest understanding of Dibei-chen, and yet there were already women who want to be intimate with him. It really made people endlessly sigh. Dibei-chen's lips curved into an unrestrained evil but elegant smile. Without saying a word, he walked off the platform and slowly walked towards Bailey Hongzhuang. As for that, it would depend on if wifey allows it or not. Immediately after and in front of everyone's shocked gazes, Dibei-chen came up to Bailey Hongzhuang's side and embraced her shoulders with one hand. Dibei-chen's smile was warm, pure and elegant. It was like cherry blossoms in spring, soft and intoxicating. Wifey, is what I said correct? Dibei-chen's words were like a bomb exploding in the blink of an eye. All the students present stood still, mouths open in shock, staring at Dibei-chen and Bailey Hongzhuang uncomprehendingly, wondering if they had just heard wrongly. Chapter 336. Xia Jiqing stared blankly at Dibei-chen, who stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Just a while ago she had even humorously made a bet with Bailey Hongzhuang, saying that Dibei-chen didn't have a wife. Never would she have thought that the wife Dibei-chen just mentioned was Bailey Hongzhuang. The situation changed so quickly that she couldn't follow it. Lu Qinyue was stunned and stared at them in astonishment. This was truly unexpected. Neither Dong Fengyu or Gong Shaoqing's expressions were any better. Before Dibei-chen had said anything about it, they would have never associated Bailey Hongzhuang with Dibei-chen. Dong Fengyu was dumbfounded. He had previously inquired a lot of information about Bailey Hongzhuang, but hadn't heard anything about her being married. Everyone's attention was all on Bailey Hongzhuang. To find out whether or not this was true, they would have to hear Bailey Hongzhuang's answer. Bailey Hongzhuang helplessly gazed at the bright attractive face in front of her. From the moment this guy appeared, she knew something like this would happen. Explain? There wasn't an explanation in the first place. Deny it? This was the truth, so how could she deny it? Since there was no other way, she could only acknowledge it. What do you think? A flicker of slyness flashed by Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes. If you are willing, then I don't have a problem with it. Although Bei Chen threw the question to her, she wasn't willing to become the fiend who broke the hearts of many young women, therefore why not just throw the question back at him? When they heard Bailey Hongzhuang neither disagree or agree, the onlookers couldn't ignore the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang was Bei Chen's wife. The discovery crushed all of the ladies in the academy. Before, Dongfang Yu had been everyone's male idol, but who would have known that when Bailey Hongzhuang joined the academy, she would be so close with Dongfang Yu, breaking the hearts of everyone. Finally, a new male idol appeared. Moreover, this was only his first day, yet he was already Bailey Hongzhuang's husband? Those who struck first prevailed, while those who struck late suffered. But wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang's striking speed a bit too fast? Couldn't she let us live? Couldn't she let us reminiscence our male idol? At this moment, not only were all the female students heartbroken, the male students who admired Bailey Hongzhuang were also distressed. Bailey Hongzhuang was their new female idol. Who would have known that Bailey Hongzhuang had already been caught by Bei Chen's evil claws? Now they didn't have any chance left. How is he the academy's special enrollment student? He clearly came to the academy to look for his wife. Noticing the twinkle of cunningness that lashed by Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Bei Chen's eyes, dark as black jade, filled with indulgence and yearning. When he first saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she had the same slyness as she reached out her hand, asking for 100 gold coins as reward. And now looking at her, still as cunning and adorable as before, standing in front of him, there was an unexplainable feeling in his heart. Fortunately, she was safe and sound. If wifey says it like that, this husband will be sad, smiled Bei Chen devilishly. You are the only one in my heart, no one else can replace you nor enter my heart. The onlookers watched as Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei Chen extravagantly showed their affection. The whole square was filled with the sound of shattering hearts. Must they go so far as to publicly flirt with each other? This proclamation of love was basically cutting of any hope they had, completely exterminating the fantasy in their hearts. Chapter 337. Sad Dongfang Yu. I had to translate the title, tongue sticking out. Xia Jiqing looked at Bei Chen's face filled with deep, doting love and finally understood why Bailey Hongzhuang never liked Dongfang Yu romantically. Because there was already an even better man in her life. Although she didn't know anything about Bei Chen or his circumstances, right now she truly felt as if Bei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang was a match made in heaven. Bei Chen's appearance was bright and handsome, filled with confidence, while Bailey Hongzhuang was stunningly gorgeous, her beauty almost unreal. The golden and the white figure interweaved together brought forth an unspeakable sense of harmony. She believed that with how amazing Hongzhuang was, her husband absolutely couldn't be a nobody. This new special enrollment student definitely must be extraordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang felt uncomfortable as she listened to Bei Chen's corny words. This guy really paid no attention to their location before he spoke. Dongfang Yu stared at the perfectly matched couple, Bei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang beside him. Nobody knew when the smile in his seductive eyes sorrowfully faded away. The gentle smile in his face had disappeared, replaced by a deep sadness. It was as if the warm and sunny day suddenly turned rainy. There wasn't the slightest bit of sun left, only gloom and sadness left behind. Dongfang Yu didn't know why, but the two seemed to be a bit unpleasant to the eyes, making his heart feel a bit stifled. Gong Xiaoqing's iceberg face was impassive as always, but a subtle wave appeared in his calm eyes when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang confirm their relationship. The sudden series of events had far exceeded his expectations. It was a development that nobody expected. Lu Qinyue's lips stretched into a big grin, but before anyone noticed, her face had already relaxed into a slight, joyful smile. Bei Chen, since you're a new special enrollment student, how about I arrange your room next to Bailey Hongzhuang's? Dongfang Yu quickly concealed his sadness, a gentle smile appearing on his face like nothing happened. As special enrollment students in the same year, Bei Chen was supposed to live together on the same floor as Bailey Hongzhuang and Bai Junyu. Although Dongfang Yu hid his emotions very quickly, Bei Chen still managed to catch it. He nodded his head slightly, then thank you very much. It seemed like his Wang face charm really wasn't small, even attracting Dongfang Yu, who never loved anyone. As the early meeting finished, the Azure Water School students slowly left. Before they came, their hearts were filled with anticipation. After they left, they were completely heartbroken. Now that they no longer had any hope, continuing to stay was meaningless. Xiao Zifen slowly walked towards Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, since he knew them and Dibei-chen was here, he should greet them. Qin Wangya. Xiao Zifen cupped his hands in greeting. I didn't expect that you'd also come to Azure Water School. Before, although he heard about Dibei-chen, they've never actually met. He knew that the Qin Wangya now was very different from the previous Qin Wangya. Now he could stand up and was no longer the Qin Wangya that everyone could bully. Besides, Azure Water School wouldn't choose incompetent people. Dibei-chen had managed to become a special enrollment student of Azure Water School. That in itself was enough to prove his strength was outstanding. Thinking up to there, Xiao Zifen's heart was filled with a myriad of emotions. He wondered, what faces would the people in the Imperial City make when they saw what statuses Bailey Honghong and Dibei-chen had now? Chapter 338. Dibei-chen's gaze fell on Xiao Zifen's body. From He Mu's mouth, he had already understood how Xiao Zifen and Hong Zhuang became acquainted. Towards the matter of Zifen standing with Bailey Hong Zhuang against the pack of Hell Wolves, Dibei-chen was very appreciative and satisfied. Dibei-chen's thin lips raised slightly. Hong Zhuang is here. Naturally, I have to come here as well. Xiao Zifen gave a slight smile. He had heard early on that Qin Wangya and Qin Wangfei's relationship was good. Seeing it today, it truly lived up to the rumors. Standing not far from Xiao Zifen and Dibei-chen, Xinyuan Huan looked at them as they conversed. His heart still had not calmed down from the shock he felt before. How did this Dibei-chen resemble the one cripple that he had originally bullied? In those 3 years, Dibei-chen had never stood up before. How could he suddenly stand up now? Could it be that? When Dibei-chen suddenly left, it was to heal his leg injury? Xinyuan Huan's mind flashed through a myriad of possibilities, feeling that it was harder and harder to believe. It seems that he had to quickly pass this news back home. He may as well confirm it. Dongfang Yu and the others heard Xiao Zifen's address towards Dibei-chen, surprise slowly entering their eyes once again. Qin Wangya? Xia Jiqing's eyes were opened wide in shock. Dibei-chen is a Wangya? Xiao Zifen nodded. That's right. He is Qin Wangya. Even though you would consider yourself to be a student after arriving at the Azure Water School, Wangya and Wangfei were still very distinguished identities. The corner of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved. Towards this identity she did not care about it too much. She was a lady of the general's household for 15 years, was that identity not distinguished enough? In fact, she had survived under the spite and trampling of others for 15 years. It is precisely for this reason that towards this identity she had never cared at all. Dibei-chen similarly didn't know how to deny it. Towards this identity of Wangya, he had never thought of it as glorious. Rather, it was humiliating. However, with Bailey Hongzhuang and Dibei-chen having an indifferent, even disdainful attitude towards this, it made them appear even higher in everyone's eyes. To hide such an obviously distinguishing identity for so long, it could be seen that their dispositions were extraordinary. Dongfang Yu felt tumultuous emotions rolling around like a stormy sea in his heart. Before, when he had looked into Bailey Hongzhuang's situation in the general's household, he had not inquired about what happened after she left. It turns out that the Bailey Hongzhuang of today was not the young lady of the general's household anymore, but was Feng Bo country's Qin Wangfei. Bailey Hongzhuang. Dibei-chen had just arrived at the Azure Water School. I'll leave it to you to show him around. We'll return first. Dongfang Yu had a gentle gaze, lips holding an intoxicatingly seductive smile, not letting others see any trace of his inner thoughts. Listening to this, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped for a moment to consider Dongfang Yu's words and then nodded. Very well. Even if she went back now, Dibei-chen would still come looking for her. Just as well, she also had a few matters to talk about with Dibei-chen. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's candid reply, Dongfang Yu felt a block form in his heart. It caused him to immediately find an excuse to leave. Gong Shaoqing watched Dongfang Yu's retreating figure and also turned to look at the completely unaware Bailey Hongzhuang, showing a complicated expression on his face. He had been Dongfang Yu's friend for many years, how could he not know what the latter was thinking in his heart? Brother Gong, thinking of it, Hongzhuang and Dibei-chen haven't seen each other for a long time. They must have a lot they want to talk to each other about. Shouldn't we leave first? Lu Qinyue's charming and delicate face held a light, warm, gentle smile, her voice containing an even more light-hearted smile. Gong Shaoqing nodded silently. Then we shall leave first. Chapter 339, Hongzhuang. Xiao Zifen and I are going now, hee hee. Xia Jiqing winked excitedly at Bailey Hongzhuang. A short separation breeds new love. Them staying here would only be a hindrance. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed everyone's ambiguous eyes but didn't say anything. She knew that right now, even if she tried to explain, nobody would believe it. So, it was better not to explain at all or else everybody might misunderstand. Seeing everyone wink as they left cleanly, Bailey Hongzhuang was helpless as she turned to face Dibei Chen. "Is your business finished?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. From what she understood, since Dibei Chen wasted 3 years in Fengbo country, there should have definitely been a terribly difficult, big mess for him to deal with. But Dibei Chen didn't take long at all. Was all his business really completed? If it really was, his efficiency was truly something. If I didn't come back, I'm afraid wifey would have ran away with somebody else. Dibei Chen grinned, his low and magnetic voice filled with charm as he said teasingly. But, his dark and beautiful eyes had a trace of hard-to-describe seriousness. Bailey Hongzhuang was struck dumb. This guy was truly shameless enough to say everything. Such a normal sentence, but why does it sound like the red apricot tree leaning over the garden wall? Idiom, a cheating wife xd. Little Black and Little White glanced at each other. As expected of Dibei Chen, he. Baisher and Bailey Hongzhuang's arms also popped his head out to glance at Dibei Chen. This was only the second time he had seen Dibei Chen. The first was when he was just born. But thinking of that now, it was too embarrassing. Baisher lowered his head, snuggling back into Bailey Hongzhuang's arms. It was a very shy animal. Nonsense. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately refuted. She knew that the 2 fluff balls on top of her head were definitely laughing at her. Dibei Chen's eyes brightened as he listened to Bailey Hongzhuang, his grin growing wider and wider. "So you mean that even if I'm not by wifey's side, wifey will still care about me?" Bailey Hongzhuang was once again stumped for words, glaring at that evildoer's face furiously. It was a pit. It was a huge pit. Dibei Chen had really calculated it well. No matter how she answered, she'd still fall for his trick. "You think too much." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed, a cold light beginning to appear in her eyes. Dibei Chen was completely unaware, the smile on his face only growing even more brilliant as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang tenderly. He tightened embraced her with his hand. "Today is truly a good day. Your husband feels very happy to see wifey again." Bailey Hongzhuang noticed Dibei Chen's hand on her shoulder and couldn't help but ask, "Your hand, can you let go?" Dibei Chen raised an eyebrow. At first he didn't want to release her, but then seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's cold face, he quietly let go. "You whatever wifey says, your husband will naturally obey." Bailey Hongzhuang frowned lightly. "Aren't you getting a bit too into the play? I'm not actually your wife." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang words, the smile on Dibei Chen's face faded somewhat, a trace of seriousness appearing in his eyes. "You don't want to be my wife?" Dibei Chen's beautiful eyes were filled with remorse as if he was thinking about how Bailey Hongzhuang was unhappy when he called her his wife. Chapter 340. But just as Bailey Hongzhuang thought that Dibei Chen finally understood, his voice suddenly rang out again. "Then Ben Wang will call you Wang Fei?" "I'm not your wife and I'm definitely not your Wang Fei," Bailey Hongzhuang emphasized. In the end, did this guy clearly understand their relationship or not? Or was he deliberately confusing it? Okay, whatever you say is right." Dibei Chen immediately replied. "Then I'll call you Zhuanger or little darling? Which name do you want me to call you by?" Dibei Chen smiled widely, a splendid, bright smile on his evilly bewitching face. He looked like a star, blinding the eyes of others. But in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, it amounted to nothing. "Really?" Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a charming smile. "You'll call me by whatever name I like?" "Of course." Dibei Chen winked, his eyes shining with sincerity. "But if I just call you Bailey Hongzhuang or the like, then we wouldn't be able to prove our intimate relationship." Bailey Hongzhuang was defeated. She simply had no way to talk it over with this guy. After all, in terms of shamelessness, she wasn't a match for him at all. After Dong Fengyu returned to his room, Gong Shaoqing and Lu Qinyue went to find him. "Dong Feng, when you investigated Bailey Hongzhuang, how did you never find out that she was the Chen Wangfei?" Gong Shaoqing asked. What had happened today had truly been unexpected. Dong Fengyu sighed slightly. "Before I had only asked around for information while she was still in the general's household, not after she left." He remembered that the person before seemed to still have something to say to him, but somebody to come find him before he could speak and left. "So it's like that." Gong Shaoqing's emotions were complicated. I've always heard that Feng Bo country's Chen Wangya was only a cripple with peerless looks, but now I see that he was actually a hidden dragon. Lu Qingyue was startled. Dibei Chen was actually Feng Bo country's crippled Wangya? Feng Bo country's crippled Wangya was very well known, but she had only known about the crippled Wangya, and not that Chen Wangya was actually Dibei Chen. Saying it that way, Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen really are a mystical couple. Lu Qinyue's eyes were filled with admiration. Before marriage their cetaceans were very much alike, and after marriage they seemed like completely different people. Looking at the current Hongzhuang and Dibei Chen, whoever saw them would have no way of connecting them to the previous general household's young miss and the crippled Wangya. Dong Fangyu and Gong Xiaoqing's faces were also a bit odd. The sudden reversal was really a tad strange. Bailey Hongzhuang's transformation was already incredible, but with Dibei Chen's change as well, it was truly shocking. Suddenly Gong Xiaoqing's eyes lit up. Bailey Hongzhuang is also a doctor, so couldn't she have cured Dibei Chen's legs? Hearing this, Dong Fangyu and Lu Qinyue's eyes also brightened. From Bailey Hongzhuang's treatment of Cui Haoyin, it was obvious that her techniques were truly amazing. She was able to cure the toxin that even the vice principal was helpless against. So if Bailey Hongzhuang cured Dibei Chen's legs, then it really wasn't too shocking. Chapter 341, Perhaps. It really is like that. Dong Fangyu's eyes twinkled thoughtfully as he lowered his head. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly an unusual woman. Not only did she change but so did the man around her. That Dibei Chen isn't a simple character either. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes were deep and distant. Before I heard that not only was Feng Bo country's Wangya a cripple, he was even bullied by everyone. But after his leg injury was healed, he also became very strongly. Clearly, he had been cultivating for a long time. It definitely wasn't an overnight thing. At the very least, his cultivation level is something that even I cannot read. His deep, magnetic voice was filled with complex emotions. Gong Xiaoqing's face was grave, not a single emotion visible on his face. Dong Fangyu nodded, feeling the same. Right, his strength is truly profound. Hearing Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu's words, Lu Qinyue's eyes widened with shock. Not even you two could measure his cultivation? As everybody knew, if the difference in strength was too big, weaker cultivators wouldn't be able to know a stronger cultivator's strength. If even Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu couldn't see his strength, it was obvious that Dibei Chen's power was beyond ordinary. Even if Dibei Chen was a year older than them, such a huge gap in strength was still astonishing. It seems like that Dibei Chen didn't come to Azure Water School to train, but to stay with Bailey Hongzhuang. Gong Xiaoqing's cold voice was certain. Only a little bit of thinking was needed to understand everything. This Chen Wangya cannot be a simple person, but for him, Bailey Hongzhuang is very important. Dong Fangyu's seductive eyes blushed faintly as they shone with intelligence, but his heart quietly burned with pain. For a person as strong as Dibei Chen, staying at Azure Water School would only be a waste of time. Yet he had rushed over specially for Bailey Hongzhuang. From this, it was obvious how important she was in Dibei Chen's heart. Whether it was appearance or strength, Dibei Chen was unbeatable. Together with his sincerity towards Bailey Hongzhuang, they truly were a couple worthy of envy. Billows appeared in Lu Qinyue's eyes. The shock was too great. Bailey Hongzhuang was once called trash by everybody, but in her eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was not only strong, a medicinal expert, she was even a rarely seen pill-refining genius. Such a perfect woman with so many talents, yet she had to live under humiliation for 15 years. It was truly hard to believe. Could it be that all the people in Feng Bo country's imperial city were all idiots? Otherwise, how could they trample on a treasured heaven-sent genius like trash? Watching Lu Qinyue's face continuously changing, Gong Xiaoqing spoke. No matter who Bailey Hongzhuang is, she's still our friend. Hearing that, Lu Qinyue's thoughts changed. Big brother Gong? He was protecting Hongzhuang. Big brother Gong, who had normally never concerned himself with worldly affairs, was now suddenly speaking so much, trying to prevent rumors so Bailey Hongzhuang won't be affected. Dong Fangyu also nodded. Right, we only need to know Hongzhuang's our friend, and that's enough. Bailey Hongzhuang led Dibei Chen on a loop around Azure Water School before finally bringing him to the special enrollment students' dormitory. Seeing how the nameplate next door was already engraved with Dibei Chen's name, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh. Azure Water School's efficiency was truly something. This is your room. Bailey Hongzhuang pointed at the door. Chapter 342. Bei Chen's eyes fell on the door beside Bailey Hongzhuang and asked teasingly, "Wifey, aren't you going to invite me in to sit?" The new student dormitory also had the same layout. If you want to sit, then just go and sit in your own room. The corners of Bei Chen's lips turned slightly upward, revealing a teasing smile. Wifey's house will always be different. That night I came too hurriedly and couldn't see the details too well. I'm afraid that I have to think about it carefully. Following Bei Chen's words, a red blush spread across Bailey Hongzhuang's face. Naturally, she understood what Bei Chen was talking about. If she wasn't completely off her guard, how could she have let Bei Chen take advantage of her? The shame of it. Click. Bailey Hongzhuang opened the door to her room. "Come in then." The smile on Bei Chen's lips widened a bit, walking step by step into Bailey Hongzhuang's room. Even though his wifey was completely capable of standing on her own two legs, towards these kinds of matters she is still quite shy. It really makes his heart go soft. "Are you really preparing to cultivate at the Azure Water School?" Bailey Hongzhuang's elegantly refined visage held a trace of puzzlement, looking with a bit of incomprehension towards Bei Chen. Though the Azure Water School was the most ideal cultivation grounds in many cultivators' hearts, it was only the case for lower-grade practitioners. The black and white fluff balls had already told her before that Bei Chen was very strong. To be able to be called very strong by the two fluff balls, Bei Chen must really be very powerful. Therefore the Azure Water School wouldn't help Bei Chen much. Bei Chen's lips curved into a devilish smile, intimate and warm. "Where wifey goes, hubby will naturally follow." Bailey Hongzhuang shot a glance at Bei Chen. This guy being so intimate, he simply has no manners to speak of. "Shut your chatter. I'm asking you a serious question." Bailey Hongzhuang composed herself and said, inky black jade-like eyes holding a bit of helplessness. Bei gave a beautiful smile. "What I said was also serious." Bailey Hongzhuang was momentarily speechless. Then just as she was prepared to reply, Bailey Hongzhuang caught sight of the deep seriousness in Bei Chen's eyes. A light immediately flashed across her eyes. He was serious. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't understand. Why would he stay with her at the Azure Water School? With Bei Chen's background, he could be called a proud son of heaven. To completely cure the cursed physique would require many medical herbs. She had already listed all the medical herbs needed to help Bei Chen. Bei Chen could in fact gather all the medical herbs before he had to find her. Staying at the Azure Water School and cultivating instead, wasn't this just wasting time? If it's because of your body, you can gather the need medical herbs and then come back to find me? Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Bei Chen gazed into Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, a complication look crossed the black pupils. "To me you aren't a doctor." Not waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to speak, Bei Chen continued. "No matter where I cultivate, it would still be the same. You don't have to worry about me." Bailey Hongzhuang sank into silence. Having already spoken up to these points, it really wasn't easy to explain. It felt as if there was an unspeakable intimacy in the relationship between the two. "All right, you can come in now." Suddenly Bei Chen turned towards the door and shouted. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows furrowed in confusion, not knowing what Bei Chen meant. Could it be that there was still someone else? Following his words, the door was opened. Dressed in a robe of black, Mu walked in. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, he greeted, "Miss Bailey?" Mu. A trace of a smile showed in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Speaking of which, no matter if it was Bei Chen or Mu, she had not seen either for some time. Chapter 343. Seeing the two again after such a long time, her heart was filled with happiness. She just didn't express it in front of Bei Chen. Bei Chen's deep eyes was filled with shock as he watched Bailey Hongzhuang look at Mu with happiness and pleasant surprise. Wasn't she a bit too enthusiastic? Is it possible that Mu was the kind his wifey liked? "Miss Bailey." Mu's face was filled with remorse. "Before Chen Wangya left, he told me to keep you safe. But I didn't expect a demonic beast tied and failed to protect you, putting you into serious danger." Mu really feels ashamed to face Miss Bailey and Wangya? Bailey Hongzhuang was startled. Earlier, because of the two fluff balls, she knew somebody had been following her. Originally she had waited out to see who was following her. But after, she realized that the person was only following her like a shadow without doing any harmful actions. So, she never thought that person following her would be revealed, and even more unexpectedly for that person to be Mu. No wonder Bei Chen came so soon after the demonic beast tied. she had already thought that it was impossible for Bei-chin to get news about the demonic beast tide so quickly. So actually it was because Heimu reported it to him. An excited smile appeared on Little Black's face. Bei-chin definitely likes Master, otherwise why would he call Heimu to protect her? Heimu is Bei-chin's personal servant. Ah. I also think so, why else would Bei-chin be at such a rush to come back? Little White nodded in agreement. Hundreds of thoughts swirled in Bailey Honghaung's mind as she listened to Little Black and Little White's conversation. She could naturally understand why Bei-chin left Heimu to follow her. The importance Bei-chin attached to her was obvious, but that demonic beast tide was too sudden, so it's understandable. You don't need to take it to heart. Bailey Hongzhuang consoled him. Everything was too unexpected. It wasn't something a single person's power could change. She completely understood how Heimu was too late to save her. Never mind Heimu, wasn't she herself also helpless in the critical moment? Heimu managing to survive the demonic beast tide was already rather difficult. Hearing Bailey Honghaung's words, Heimu only felt even more guilty. He had failed the young master's mission, yet Miss Bailey was still so considerate. He was ashamed. Miss Bailey, I promise you that I won't ever let you be in such danger ever again. Heimu's face was serious. Such a mistake once was enough. If there was a second time, even without the young master saying anything, he himself could just go die. Bei-chin narrowed his eyes as he watched Bailey Hongzhuang and Heimu talk. Why did it so strange when Heimu solemnly vowed to never let Bailey Honghaung fall into danger? It seems that later he needs to choose a new person to protect Bailey Honghaung. He could not leave a single threat behind. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Heimu, don't mind it too much and just protect Bei-chin. Bei-chin waved his hand. Heimu, since wife's already forgiven you, you can go now. Heimu nodded his head as he turned around to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Bei-chin, her clear eyes a bit emotional as she spoke. Thank you. Suddenly being thanked, Bei-chin was a bit startled before a bright smile appeared on his face. Taking good care of you is my responsibility. Chapter 344. Bei-chin's gaze landed on Baisher, who was snuggling in Bailey Hongzhuang's arms. Is this the demonic beast you got from the royal hunting feast? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded softly. Right, this is him. I named him Baisher, White Lion. Baisher. Nice name. Bei-chin rubbed Baisher's head. This little guy's quite cute. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Baisher's head. Since Bei-chin came back, his head has always been buried in her sleeves, so you could only see its fluffy white fur and couldn't see him. By Bailey Honghaung's touch, Baisher raised his head to look at Bei-chin. When Bei-chin saw Baisher's face, his extraordinarily handsome face turned shocked. He touched the king character on Baisher's head, the astonishment in his eyes slowly calming down. This is actually the Beast King? Seeing how both Bei-chin and Moyunju said that Baisher was the Beast King, Bailey Hongzhuang was even more certain of Baisher's identity. You know the Beast King? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. I don't know anything about this Beast King, can you explain it to me? Bei-chin nodded his head. Of course. Listening to Bei-chin's explanation, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly understood what the Beast King status meant. The Beast King actually only appeared a few hundred years ago, which explained why she didn't know anything about it in her past life. Hundreds of years ago, a great change had happened in the demonic beast forest. Many species of demonic beasts had gone extinct, along with the creation of many new ones. The Beast Kings were one of the most powerful and special of those newly created species. All demonic beasts would bow down to Beast King. All demonic beasts would listen to the Beast King. And the most special thing was that there was only one Beast King in their entire species. Only after the old one died could a new one be born. As such, the Beast King was known to be an extremely frightening existence. Normally speaking, it was impossible for the Beast King to become a contract beast, yet it just so happened to become Bailey Hongzhuang's. It was truly unimaginable. The royal family's actually so generous? Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow. The royal family themselves probably didn't even know what demonic beast was under the seal, right? Bei-chin nodded his head. Who knows how many people would come rushing like ducks if they'd known that they could get the Beast King as a contracted beast. If the royal family had known, there's no way they'd place it as a reward. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed softly. Just one growl from Baisher's throat could stop the entire demonic beast tide. Baisher's power was obvious. If the royal family knew now, she was afraid that their intestines would turn green from regret. Bei-chen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's uncaring appearance and couldn't help but to emphasize, "You can't let anyone else know about Baisher's identity. If it gets known, others will definitely get jealous. Then at that point you'll be in danger." The ordinary man was innocent, but treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. With Bailey Hongzhuang's current strength, she still wasn't strong enough to protect Baisher. Seeing Bei-chen's earnest appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "I understand. Then what do you plan to do?" Bei-chen frowned slightly. Baisher was Bailey Hongzhuang's pet and usually followed her around. It was impossible to just have him stay at home all the time, right? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into an enchanting smile. "I have an idea." Bei-chen glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang suspiciously, but Bailey Hongzhuang always had a lot of unusual methods. Since she said so, she probably already thought up of a solution. Chapter 345. After leaving, I also inquired a bit about the Lan family's situation. Bei-chen said slowly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sharpened, pure charming face full of seriousness. How was it? That piece of jade was the only proof of her identity. After knowing that she wasn't Bailey Jintian's daughter by birth, she had always worn that piece of jade around her neck. Towards her own origins she also wanted to understand. Bei-chen pursed his thin lips, a heaviness filling his handsome eyes. The Lan family had put a very tight lid on the situation. I sent people to look into it, but the people of the Lan family had their lips sealed when it came to this matter. However, I was still able to confirm the matter of Lan Yunxiao turning against the Lan family. This was exactly 15 years ago. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed. The timing coincides. Plus there was also the matter of the jade piece. If there were no other unexpected events, this might be the truth of her origins. Did you look into the reason why Lan Yunxiao and the family turned against each other and became enemies? Bailey Hongzhuang had some doubts since Lan Yunxiao was the most favored son of the head of the Lan family as well as the most likely candidate to be the successor of the Lan family. And so, Lan Yunxiao had no reason to become enemies with his own family. Bei-chen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a complicated gaze in his eyes. On this matter, I've also inquired into it. The reason Lan Yunxiao became enemies with the family, I'm afraid, that it was because of you. Bailey Hongzhuang was taken aback. Because of me? Bei-chen nodded. That's right. The knowledge of this matter was hidden very well. I've tried inquiring about it numerous times, but still only managed to learn bits and pieces. However, when these were gathered and put together, I got a general understanding of the truth. Do you remember about your shattered dantian? Waves appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes as focused. So you mean that the reason why Lan Yunxiao and the Lan family had a falling out was due to my shattered dantian? Could it be that I wasn't born with a shattered dantian? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sharpened as that idea appeared inside her heart. She had always believed that she was born with a shattered dantian. All along, she had thought that her shattered dantian was due to congenital complications. After all, the world is vast and one could find all sorts of unique situations. Though chances of being born with a shattered dantian was low, it was not zero. But if this was all due to human action, then the pain and suffering of the Bailey Hongzhuang from before was all due to the other party. This possibility is great. Bei-chen's expression sank slightly, a deep and unfathomable look on his face. It was due to this that Lan Yunxiao left the Lan family with his wife and daughter. Then following that reasoning, the person who shattered my dantian is a member of the Lan family? How smart was Bailey Hongzhuang? Even though Bei-chen didn't clearly state it, just one glance was enough to reason out the general picture of the situation. If this was the truth, then she had unknowingly taken on the burden of hatred from the original owner of this body. At the time I was only a child. How cruel was the other party to actually raise his hand against a child? A child still in the cradle had her dantian forcibly shattered by another. How painful would it have been? Exactly how deep was the other resentment to actually be cruel to this point? In regards to this matter, I have yet to look into it. After this is the top secret information about the Lan family. However, I will try inquiring again. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Her entire appearance was beautiful like a cicada. With Lan Yunxiao's position in the Lan family, to have thoughts of harming her means that the other party was definitely not low in the Lan family hierarchy. Moreover, to a cultivation family like the Lan family, it was nothing less than a huge embarrassment that a child still in the cradle was a victim of such treachery. She was only afraid that every member of the Lan family was silent on this matter, afraid to say even a word. Chapter 346. At that time, the Lan family and Lan Yunxiao were having a dispute about becoming the family head. Bailey Honghaong's eyes narrowed, an astute light flitting by. As the family head in her past life, she was by no means a stranger to the methods used within the family. Who knew how many victims were sacrificed for the family head's seat? Luckily for her, she had managed to use her strength to terrorize everybody so nobody would dare to start anything. But many similar situations could be seen in other families. All kinds of despicable, filthy means were used. Unless it was already decided, every birth of a new family head was bound to be filled with bloodshed. Bei Qin stared at Bailey Honghaong. She really had a clever mind, already understanding without him needing to be so wordy. Right? Lan Yunxiao's big brother Lan Jingquang. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a cold smile. At this point she pretty much already knew who was acting behind the scenes. Right now Lan Jingquang is already the Lan family head. His daughter, Lan Qingyan, is a well-known genius, and is a very famous figure in Xingshan continent. It's said that Lan Qingyan's talent was beyond ordinary geniuses, and that her cultivation was always impressive. These past few years her reputation had gotten even more resounding. Lan Qingyan was thought highly of by the entire Lan family, and that someday, it was highly possible that she'd become the first female family head. It seems that Lan Qingyan's skills really aren't ordinary. Bailey Honghaong concealed the sharp light in her eyes. To be expected to become the Lan family's first female family head must mean that she definitely has the ability to. Bei Qin nodded slightly. Lan Qingyan really is remarkable, but she almost always cultivated alone. I also never saw her before. It's no wonder then that Lan Yunxiao and the Lan family became enemies and was chased to death. The other party was really a powerful figure. Bailey Honghaong's lips curved into a smile, a bone-chillingly cold light appearing in her eyes. Before, she had no idea about her background. Now that she knew about the Lan family's unfair treatments towards her parents and finally chased to death, the bloodlust in her heart was almost boiling. She could almost imagine Lan Yunxiao as the respected family head. If had let bygones be bygones, he would have still been the Lan family head. A child, rather than keeping a waist like her, he could just have a new one. But Lan Yunxiao didn't. For her, he had become enemies with the Lan family and abandoned everything: glory, splendor, wealth, and rank just to get justice for his daughter. Even though Lan Yunxiao was powerful, how could he and her mother, two people, stand up against the entire Lan family? Bailey Hongzhuang already marked down the big Lan family as her enemy. Even though she was also a part of the Lan family, since the Lan family was so unfair towards her, she already decided to break all ties with them. Bei Qin watched as Bailey Honghaong's face changed. Sensing the condensing bloodlust surrounding her, his eyes were filled with astonishment. Bloodlust was a very mysterious thing, linked with a cultivator's strength. The stronger the cultivator and the more bloodshed they've experienced, the stronger their bloodlust. But such a strong bloodlust was far beyond what somebody at Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation level should have. What had Bailey Honghaong gone through? Even he probably wouldn't been able to emit such terrifying bloodlust. Thinking how Bailey Honghaong's experiences were even worse than his, a trace of pity emerged in Bei Qin's heart. Chapter 347. Such an experience, I'm afraid that nobody would be able to stay calm after hearing about it. If her parents died just like that, then Bailey Hongzhuang definitely would be burdened with a deep blood feud. As soon as he thought of that enormous Lan family, Bei Qin's mood also turned heavier. Can you investigate whether or not my parents are alive? Even though Bailey Hongzhuang was normally calm and collected, at this moment she was inevitably nervous. She had never met her parents, but she could feel the love of her parents. She just wished that her parents were still living in this world so that someday they might be able to have a reunion. Otherwise, no matter how big the Lan family is, she would completely destroy this family clan that destroyed her family. At that time, after your parents left the Lan family, there was no contact from them. I've already investigated, but at the moment, there has been no information. Bei Qin looked worryingly at Bailey Hongzhuang, afraid that she'd be obsessed over revenge. After all, put anyone else in her place and they would all care deeply about this. Thus he was almost certain that after learning about her identity, Bailey Hongzhuang would go investigating about her parents. Unfortunately, when the event happened in the Lan family, they had concealed it quite well. not to mention that her parents had been running from assassins the whole way. The clues were very well concealed. Even if he sent out many of his men to investigate, it would be the same as before. He wouldn't have been able to get any useful information. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression didn't change. The outcome wasn't out of her expectations. Her parents were chased by assassins at the time, so they passed her to Qin Yeyun, who adopted her. And when she got her, she was covered in blood. Just knowing that, one can see how bitter their circumstances at the time was. Since they were being chased, Lan Yunxiao must have used all his strength to hide their tracks. For Dibei Qin to investigate now, naturally it would be difficult to unearth anything. However, she was certain if her parents were still alive, they would definitely come back and find her. From the moment they put their lives on the line so they would guarantee her safety, she could see how deep their love for her was. If they haven't returned, then it was very likely that the situation was disastrous. Thinking up to here, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sunk. If they had really died, she would bury the Lan family to accompany her parents in their grave. Dibei Qin put his hand on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder and lightly patted her back. "Wife, we'll take this step by step. We'll definitely find out what happened back then." Feeling the concern in Dibei Qin's heart, the coldness in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes diminished a bit. Glancing over at Dibei Qin, Bailey Hongzhuang's dark, yet bright eyes flashed for a moment. In the beginning she was only asking of him a request, yet Dibei Qin had already done so much for her. When Dibei Qin returned, he probably had many things to take care of, but he still left behind Blackwood to safeguard her and sent men to investigate. Not only that, he even helped look for the whereabouts of her parents. He was not only considerate, he also went beyond her expectations. There was words in her mind that she had difficulty speaking. She, Bailey Hongzhuang, was always a person who, if others helped her, she'd repay them many times over. Dibei Qin treating her like this, she would remember all of this in her heart. "Thank you for helping me look for all this information." Her black eyes flickered with emotion, her voice sincere. "This period of time has been difficult for you." Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer as sad, Dibei Qin also let out a sigh. After hearing about this information, he was aware of the revenge burdened on Bailey Hongzhuang's back. Chapter 348. Even in such a place as Fengbo country, it is clear why the Lan family is considered important. In front of the Lan family, even the entire Fengbo country can be easily annihilated. The two cannot be compared. The Lan family in the Sanshan mainland has been in existence for many years with many deep-rooted wrongs. Things could get complicated. To go against the entire Lan family with one person's strength alone was an impossible feat to accomplish. In the Xingxian continent, new forces will rise every day while the old forces die out. However, when certain forces grow too powerful, they will be extremely hard to destroy. Because each group had a long lineage, they became extremely stable over time. As the saying goes, the body of a starving camel is larger than a living horse. When they reach a certain level, there are only short-term silences even when they fall into difficulty. Only after a while can they slowly get back up. He did not know if Bailey Hongzhuang knew of the power that the Lan family holds and was worried that after his introduction, Bailey Hongzhuang would fall into a trap. If Bailey Hongzhuang fears the Lan family and doesn't make a move, it is not what he wants to see. But Bailey Hongzhuang had set her heart for revenge. Ever since then she has not been happy, which is also not what he wishes to see. Luckily Bailey Hongzhuang is not as he had imagined. She is truly an unusual woman. "I only want you to be happy," Dibei Qin says in a gentle and sincere tone. Bailey Hongzhuang was silent. Usually she would not show her emotions on her face. "I understand. One day I will find out the truth. The Lan family will be destroyed and I will pay them back by 100 folds." The dark pools flashes an extremely cold aura, hidden devour all the power, a kind of unspeakable arrogance domineering burst forth from Bailey Hongzhuang's body. She has never cared for the power a family held, nor does she have the word fear in her dictionary. She only knows that people can decide their own fate. People only live once in their lifetime to do what they want. Embarking on the road of cultivation is also a way to a fulfilling life. If they give up on revenge because of fear, then how can they even talk about martial arts? She, Bailey Hongzhuang, does not fear the heavens or the earth. Whatever she wishes, she will put her heart to it until it is accomplished. Dibei Qin noticed a flame flash in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, feeling a deep shock in his heart. He never knew that inside Bailey Hongzhuang's body, there was such a powerful soul. From that pair of firm and confident eyes, he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's confidence and persistence. He once heard Master say what cultivators need the most is a fearless state of mind. However, most cultivators do not have it. Because Master saw that he did not fear the heavens and earth, the rules were broken and he accepted as a disciple. Not only that, his wife also has that kind of personality. The way it is, they are truly a fated pair. What you are saying is correct. What kind of power is the head of the Lan family? It is up to a person. As long as we have faith, anything is possible. Bei Qin had an enchanting bloodthirsty aura, one that belongs to a domineering ruler. Those pair of eyes had a confident and bright shine to it. People lived a lifetime for themselves, this had the most purpose. Hearing what Bei Qin said, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes showed a touch of surprise. She showed a touch of clear understanding while revealing an enchanting smile. It seems that their thoughts are in sync. Chapter 349, You don't think that I'm being unrealistic? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes raised, a smile on her clear and enchanting face. Bei Chen's lips curved into a bewitching smile as he held Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder. Whatever wife wants to do, I as the husband will naturally accompany you. Besides, it might be unrealistic for other people but not necessarily for us. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile grew wider as she heard Bei Chen's words. Today she found that they were the same type of people. They didn't know what was known as fear. Little White, do you think what I think Master and Bei Chen look like? Little Black asked. Little White nodded his head in agreement. No wonder the two are such a good couple, they're both evildoers. For others, choosing to do such a thing might be too crazy. But no matter if it was Master or Bei Chen, both of them had already thought through the possibilities before deciding. It was naturally needless to talk about Master. As the family head in her past life, she naturally knew how difficult it was to destroy an influential family. Precisely because she understood an influential family so well, she also knew the conditions to destroy one. There was never a power that could never fall, it just depended on when another power that could destroy it appeared. Baisher, snuggling in Bailey Hongzhuang's embrace, raised his head to look at the two and had no choice but to admit that the two of them really were like evildoers. The two people fearing nothing in heaven and earth are together. This time the Lan family is really out of luck. In that case, what does wife want to do next? Bei Chen smiled and asked gently. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders. Food needs to be eaten bite by bite, roads need to be walked step by step. My strength is nothing compared to the Lan family right now, so naturally I need to first cultivate and improve my strength. Once I have the strength, I'll go to the Lan family. She already waited 15 years, so she naturally didn't care about waiting a bit more. Wifey's decision is good. Bei Chen nodded smilingly. This was a long-term goal, and right now, taking every step well was the most important thing. Don't worry, I'll help you ask around on news about the Lan family. Then I'll be troubling you. Between us, there's no need to thank each other. Bei Chen blew at Bailey Hongzhuang's ear, his voice soft and filled with charm. Bailey Hongzhuang could only feel her neck warm as her ear trembled before she immediately took 2 steps back. After all, such an appearance was truly too ambiguous. Bei Chen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's red ears, the smile in his eyes deepening. His wifey was really too cute. Bailey Hongzhuang had the long-term goal of destroying the Lan family, and he had the long-term goal of capturing her heart. His wife won't give up and he wouldn't give up either. Bei Chen's arrival to Azure Water School raised a huge upsurge, but after discovering Bei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang's relationship, the craze slowly started to calm down. The female students who had given up hope for Dong Fangyu rekindled their spirit. Since Bei Chen and Bailey Hongzhuang were a couple, that meant Dong Fangyu was still their Prince Charming. For a while, Dong Fangyu's popularity increased again, becoming the target of love for many female students. In a flash, 3 days had already passed and it was time for Bailey Hongzhuang's pill auction. Chapter 350. This auction was the one most highly anticipated by the Azure Water School students. The 3-channel opening pills were not going to be sold to outsiders, all of them would be auctioned off to the students within the school. Just because of this, the students felt more favorable towards Bailey Hongzhuang. If it were someone else, they would likely only go after more benefits for themselves, not leaving the channel opening pill for their classmates at all. Bailey Hongzhuang woke up early. Soon after she would have to begin the auction. The students coming would not be a few. She also had to make preparations. At the same time Bailey Hongzhuang opened her door, Bei Chen's door also opened. Thus, just as Bailey Hongzhuang opened the door, she saw Bei Chen's smiling face as bright as the shining sun. "Wifey, did you dream about me yesterday?" Bei Chen's charming eyes blinked, an intimate smile on his face. Bailey Hongzhuang cast a sidelong glance at Bei Chen, lips curved into an enchantingly wicked smile. "I dreamed about a bear yesterday. I wonder if that was you?" Xia Jiqing had just entered the special enrollment student dormitory when she heard Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei Chen's conversation and couldn't help but cough out a laugh. The sudden laughter caused both Bailey Hongzhuang and Bei Chen to turn their heads towards the source, seeing Xia Jiqing slowly making her way over, clad in a purple-colored light muslin dress. "Hongzhuang, the two of you husband and wife are really interesting." The laughter lingered on Xia Jiqing's face. "I wasn't intentionally eavesdropping on your conversation." Bailey Hongzhuang gave a sort of helpless look towards Xia Jiqing and also gave a fierce glare at Bei Chen. Bei Chen shrugged, looking innocent and pure. He also didn't know that Xia Jiqing would appear at this time. "Jiqing, why did you come over so early?" Bailey Hongzhuang's light ethereally beautiful voice was full of joy, lips curved into a smile as splendid as a cherry blossom. Xia Jiqing shook her head, a slightly exaggerated expression on her face. "I haven't come early at all. There are already many students waiting outside of your dormitory. Today I originally planned to come a bit later. However, my roommate woke up really early and even the classmates next door had already left. I also got up. Just now, I had to force my way through the crowd just to get here to your special enrollment student dormitory." Xia Jiqing's voice was full helplessness. This scene was really way beyond her expectations. She almost can imagine that today's auction will definitely be unusually explosive. "Have many people already gathered outside now?" Bailey Hongzhuang arched her eyebrow. Xia Jiqing continuously nodded. "It isn't just many people. It's more like a sea of people." Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled. It was still a ways from the time of the auction, and the reason she woke up early was to have time to prepare. She never would have thought that the students would come even earlier than she did. This showed how highly attractive the channel opening pill was to them. "Kacha." The sound of a door opening was heard. Hearing Xia Jiqing's voice, the seriously injured Bai Junyu also came out. "Jiqing, you came?" Bai Junyu said, smiling. Xia Jiqing looked at Bai Junyu's improved but still pale face, smilingly saying, "You're recovering quite well." "Hehe, it's all due to Hongzhuang. Otherwise, I afraid that I would have already lost my life." Bai Junyu looked towards Bailey Hongzhuang, gratefulness in his eyes. From the moment he was bitten by that demonic beast, he had already fallen into despair, afraid that he would be able to keep his right hand and never being able to become an outstanding cultivator in the future. He didn't think that Bailey Hongzhuang would turn out to be a famous doctor, not only helping him recover quickly, but also leaving no future impairments on his right hand. Chapter 351 Big favors of kindness didn't need to be thanked. He deeply stored this grace in his heart. His life was saved by Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. "It's your own fortune to recover so quickly. In a few days it should be completely healed." These days Bai Junyu had been feeling rather bored staying in his room. Since everybody else had came out, he wanted to come out to have some fun as well. Bai Junyu nodded with a smile on his face. "I'm looking forward to recovering from this injury soon. It's really been pretty boring lately." Xia Jiqing shot Bai Junyu a glance as he spoke in that kind of manner. It was definitely boring, not speaking to anybody for the whole day. While people were conversing with one another, Dong Fangyu, Gong Shaoqing, and Lu Qinyue came down from the upstairs. "Good morning, everybody." Lu Qinyue greeted with a bright and beautiful smile. "We wanted to come out earlier, but we didn't expect you all to have already come here." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled indifferently as she nodded. "It wasn't just us either, the students from the auction also came rather early." "Oh." Lu Qinyue raised her eyebrows, surprised. "Has the auction not started yet?" "The channel opening pill is too enticing of an item for us cultivators." Bai Junyu laughed. "These days I've heard that the students are looking everywhere in search of treasures, all for the auction today." Xia Jiman inspected Lu Qinyue. She hadn't thought Lu Qinyue would always be so cheerful. She wasn't very fond of Lu Qinyue. She was never interested in those kinds of weak, delicate-mannered women. Plus, whenever she saw Lu Qinyue and Hongzhuang together, her heart always had a bad feeling and wariness towards Lu Qinyue. But today it seemed to have somewhat dissipated. Why was that? Xia Jiman frowned as she thought about why she was always wary towards Lu Qinyue. Dong Fengyu watched Bailey Honghoung and Bei Qin stood together, his eyes darkening again. But his eyes soon restored their usual bright and gentle gaze. Since we're all ready, it's better to go have a look now. That'd be good. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, dimples appearing on her face as she spoke. Shall we go? Bei Qin seemed relaxed as he followed behind Bailey Hongzhuang out the dorm room, his eyes occasionally landing on Dong Fengyu's body. Dong Fengyu's quick change of expressions didn't escape his eye. Such a face wasn't just sadness or loneliness. As a man, he was clear about the meaning behind such an expression. It seems Dong Fengyu's feelings were deeper than he had thought. Luckily Dong Fengyu wasn't as blunt about his own feelings as he was, and that his wife was very dense when it comes to emotions. Bei Qin felt a tiny bit glad. Sometimes it seems that her slowness wasn't always a bad thing. Heimu was very distressed. Before, he had always been the young master's hidden guard. After the young master left, he had been put in charge of Miss Bailey's safety. Now that the young master returned, he naturally should have been his personal hidden guard. But yesterday the young master told him that he should stay hidden as a guard and not always follow at his side. Heimu's mind was filled with thoughts. What did he do wrong? Could it be that his young master still didn't forgive his mistake of failing to protect Miss Bailey? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.